In the depths of our planet's history, hidden beneath layers of time, lie artifacts that defy explanation. Objects so ancient, so complex, they seem to whisper secrets of civilizations lost to the ages. But what if these discoveries are not mere relics, but evidence of something far more profound? Something that challenges everything we think we know about our past. From unexplained structures to artifacts of unimaginable precision, these mysteries have left the brightest minds in science stunned. What are we missing? And what could they reveal about the true origins of humanity? Join us as we delve into 3+ hours of the world's most baffling, awe-inspiring archaeological finds. High upon the mist-covered hills of Central Europe, where the land is ancient and the air holds the weight of forgotten centuries, stand the remnants of what once were formidable strongholds, Gallic Hillforts. These sprawling structures, built by the Celtic tribes long before the rise of the Roman Empire, offer an intriguing glimpse into a world lost to time. Their walls, composed of massive timber beams or stone, still rise against the landscape, some towering over the surrounding plains, others barely visible beneath the brush of dense forest. As the wind sweeps across these sites, it's easy to imagine the warriors and artisans who built them, their hands carving out a sanctuary, a fortress to protect their people. Yet, as solid as these structures appear, they have long been subjects of intense speculation and mystery. How did these ancient builders, with limited tools, manage to construct such large, defensive strongholds in the heart of untamed wilderness? Gallic Hillforts, known as oppida, were not simply places of defense. Many were centers of life, where trade, governance, and even ritual took place. They often contained market spaces, communal halls, and temples, suggesting that these fortifications were not only military outposts, but vibrant communities with complex social structures. Yet, as archaeologists carefully examine these sites, they continue to reveal peculiarities that cannot easily be explained. For example, there is the remarkable precision with which many of these hill forts were built. Some sites, such as the massive hill fort of Bibracte in modern-day France, are known for their impressive ramparts, layers of earth and stone, often reaching heights of up to 30 feet, that encircle entire settlements. The manner in which these defenses were constructed, with so much attention to detail, hints at a level of engineering sophistication that seems at odds with what we know about the ancient Gallic tribes. Some theories suggest that these fortifications were built in response to a growing fear of external threats, particularly from the expanding Roman Empire, which would later conquer the Celtic lands. But were these fortifications merely a military response, or did they serve an even deeper, more symbolic purpose? There are those who speculate that the hill forts were also places of spiritual significance, centers where the Celts performed rituals to appease gods and spirits of the land. The positioning of some hill forts atop hills and ridgelines, often aligning with celestial events like solstices and equinoxes, suggests that the construction of these sites may have had an astronomical as well as defensive purpose. Could the construction of these fortifications be tied to a belief system that revered the forces of nature and sought to communicate with higher powers? In recent years, some have proposed that certain features of these sites may even suggest influences from beyond the Celtic world. Some structures show signs of advanced knowledge in geometry, and the use of certain building techniques seems almost too advanced for the time. Could there have been outside influences at play, trade with distant civilizations, or even something more enigmatic? Were the builders of these hill forts somehow privy to knowledge lost to later generations? Though these questions remain unanswered, what remains undeniable is the sense of mystery that surrounds these sites. As we dig deeper into the past, we continue to find evidence of societies far more sophisticated and mysterious than previously thought. Yet, much of what we uncover only opens up more questions that might never be fully resolved. Why, for example, did the Celtic tribes abandon many of these hill forts so suddenly, especially when the Roman Empire was still distant from their lands? Did they vanish under pressure from external forces, or did something else push them to leave their carefully constructed sanctuaries? Was it simply the passage of time and the relentless march of history, or was there something else at play? A shift in culture, a catastrophic event, or a turning point in their worldview? As we look out across the misty hills, with their ancient, weathered ramparts and abandoned streets, one thing remains clear. The story of the Gallic Hillforts is far from finished. Their walls still hold their secrets, and perhaps, hidden within those very walls, is a truth we are only beginning to understand. As we leave the misty hills of ancient Gaul behind, we journey across the vast expanse of time and space to another civilization that once thrived in the shadows of the Indus River, the people of Harappa. Located in what is now modern-day Pakistan and western India, the ruins of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro form the heart of the Indus Valley civilization, one of the most advanced societies of the ancient world. But like the Gallic Hillforts, many of the structures found at Harappa raise as many questions as they answer. Among the most enigmatic and impressive of these structures are the Harappa Granaries, massive, well-organized buildings that seem to suggest a level of planning and knowledge that we still struggle to comprehend. These granaries, many of which are thought to have been used for storing grain and other agricultural products, were a vital part of the city's infrastructure. But their scale and precision have baffled archaeologists and historians alike. How did the builders of Harappa manage to construct these vast structures with such mathematical accuracy and foresight? The granaries at Harappa are not merely ordinary storage facilities. They are architectural marvels in their own right. The most notable feature is their remarkable design. Each granary consists of long rows of large brick platforms, often with holes for ventilation, raised from the ground on elevated bases. It's believed that these features were designed to keep the grain cool and dry, protecting it from the humid climate of the region. The organization of these structures, often found in clusters, laid out in a precise grid, hints at an advanced understanding of both architecture and urban planning. This level of sophistication is, in itself, an intriguing mystery. How did a civilization that existed over 4,000 years ago manage to build such complex and functional infrastructure? The granary's dimensions and construction suggest that they weren't just used for storing food, but for managing the resources of an entire city. Harappa, with its thriving trade networks and bustling markets, must have needed a steady supply of food to sustain its population. But why build these massive storage facilities? Was this just a reflection of practical concerns, or was there a deeper, more symbolic purpose to their construction? Some scholars believe that these granaries were not only a means of storing food, but were tied to the very functioning of Harappa's economy and government. The civilization of the Indus Valley is thought to have been highly centralized, with a system of management that may have controlled the distribution of grain, possibly as a form of taxation or centralized provisioning. Could these granaries have been used to store not just grain, but wealth, acting as a form of state-controlled storage, where surpluses were stored and allocated by a centralized authority? Yet, there's something about these granaries that suggests a mystery beyond the practical. The sheer scale and complexity of the construction leave room for speculation. Some have suggested that the granaries might not have been used for storage at all. Instead, could they have been religious or ceremonial in nature? The idea that these structures could hold a spiritual significance is not entirely far-fetched when you consider the degree of planning and care that went into their construction. In other cultures, large storage facilities or monumental buildings have often had symbolic meanings, tied to religious rituals or sacred practices. Could the Harappans have used these structures in ways we have yet to fully understand, perhaps even for offerings or ceremonial purposes tied to their agricultural gods? The mystery deepens when we consider the apparent suddenness of the Harappan civilization's decline. Around 1900 BC, the city of Harappa, along with its sister cities like Mohenjo-Daro, began to show signs of collapse. But the reasons for this collapse remain elusive. Some scholars argue that shifting river patterns and ecological changes, such as drought or flooding, could have disrupted the agricultural base of the civilization, leading to the abandonment of many granaries. Others suggest that there may have been political upheaval or social unrest, perhaps caused by a breakdown in the very system of resource control that these granaries were part of. But there are still deeper, more speculative theories. Could the granaries, in some way, hold the key to understanding the cause of the civilization's sudden downfall? What if the very wealth and power that these storage facilities represented became a source of tension or conflict? Could it be that the centralized control of resources led to power struggles, internal conflicts, or even invasion by external forces? Or is it possible that the decline of the Harappan civilization was caused by forces beyond human control, perhaps something as inexplicable as a natural catastrophe or a massive seismic event? As we delve into the mysteries of Harappa's granaries, we find ourselves left with more questions than answers. The granaries themselves stand as a testament to the ingenuity of the Indus Valley civilization, a people who seem to understand the intricacies of agriculture, architecture, and urban planning. But as with many ancient civilizations, their true purpose and significance remain hidden behind the sands of time. Perhaps, as we continue to explore these ancient structures, we'll uncover more clues about the lives of the people who built them. Or perhaps we'll be left with even more mysteries that continue to beckon us into the past, challenging our assumptions about the lost worlds that once thrived long before recorded history began. As we look at the remains of these towering granaries, we must ask, what else is still buried in the earth, waiting to be uncovered? And what secrets will these silent, weathered walls whisper to us next? As we leave behind the ancient granaries of Harappa, the story of lost civilizations beckons once again. Our journey now takes us to the heart of Mesoamerica, to a place of striking beauty and ancient enigma, El Tajín, a city lost in time, hidden among the jungles of modern-day Veracruz, Mexico. This once thriving metropolis, built by the ancient Totonac people, is an archaeological wonder. Its towering pyramids, intricate carvings, and mysterious layouts stir the imagination, but beneath its grandeur lies a host of unanswered questions, puzzles that continue to intrigue researchers and explorers alike. El Tajín sits on the edge of the Tuxtla Mountains, with the land around it rich in dense forests and steep hills. The site is most famous for its iconic Pyramid of the Niches, an imposing structure with 365 small niches, each one a possible symbol of the solar year. This pyramid, along with other monumental buildings scattered across the city, evokes a sense of timeless mystery. As the sun moves across the sky, the shadows of these structures shift and dance, offering a glimpse into the advanced knowledge of astronomy the Totonac people must have possessed. But what more could these niches represent? And why such an elaborate attention to detail in the layout of the city? The most well-known feature of El Tajín is undoubtedly the Pyramid of the Niches, but it is far from the only structure of intrigue. The city is filled with courtyards, platforms, ball courts, and temples, all meticulously arranged to reflect a deep understanding of geometry and astronomy. Yet, despite its sophistication, the purpose behind many of these structures remains unclear. What was the true role of the city? Was it merely a religious center, or did it also serve as a hub of trade and political power? Some archaeologists believe El Tajín may have been a center for ritual and sacrifice, while others suggest that it was a strategic trading post, connecting the regions of the Gulf Coast with the highlands of Mesoamerica. But the truth remains elusive, hidden beneath centuries of earth, foliage, and time. As with many ancient sites, the reason for El Tajín's eventual abandonment is shrouded in mystery. The city flourished from approximately 600 to 1200 AD, but by the end of the 13th century, it was largely deserted. What could have caused the collapse of such a vibrant, sophisticated civilization? Was it the result of internal conflict, environmental changes, or perhaps a shifting of trade routes? Or could something far more inexplicable have been at play, an event so catastrophic that it erased the city from memory for centuries? One of the most mysterious aspects of El Tajín is the puzzle of its architecture. While its design reflects an advanced understanding of mathematics, the precise purpose behind certain architectural features remains unknown. The niches in the Pyramid of the Niches, for example, are a remarkable feature, but their purpose is hotly debated. Could they have been used to hold offerings, or were they symbolic, representing the calendar or the cycles of time? The alignment of the pyramid with celestial events such as the equinoxes and solstices hints at a connection to cosmic cycles, but how these alignments were incorporated into the daily lives of the people remains speculative. Furthermore, the city's layout itself presents an intriguing mystery. El Tajín was built with an extraordinary attention to alignment, not only with the heavens but also with the surrounding landscape. The city was constructed in a series of terraces, with plazas and pyramids strategically placed on elevated platforms. Some experts suggest that this careful placement was designed to honor natural features, such as nearby rivers or mountains, that were believed to hold spiritual significance. Could it be that the layout of El Tajín was more than just architectural? It was a map of the cosmos itself, an earthly reflection of the stars and constellations? But what truly deepens the mystery of El Tajín is the apparent disappearance of the city's history. Unlike other Mesoamerican civilizations, such as the Maya or the Aztecs, the Totonac left no detailed written records of their existence. There are no codices, no inscriptions, no stone tablets that recount their history in the way we find in other ancient cultures. The discovery of the site itself was an accident in the early 20th century, when it was stumbled upon by local workers clearing the jungle. This lack of documentation has led to much speculation about the Totonac people and their civilization. Was their history simply lost, or did they actively erase it? Could the knowledge of their great city, with all its monumental architecture, have been intentionally buried or forgotten after their decline? There are theories that the city's decline was linked to shifting political and environmental factors. Some believe that as neighboring civilizations, such as the Mexica, Aztecs, rose to prominence, El Tajín lost its influence and power. Others suggest that the region's once ideal climate for agriculture may have begun to change, forcing the Totonac to abandon their once thriving urban center. Could the city have been affected by prolonged drought, deforestation, or the shifting course of rivers that were vital to their agriculture? Or could the decline of El Tajín have been driven by more intangible factors, an ideological shift, or a loss of faith in the city's religious leaders? In recent years, some researchers have ventured into more speculative territories. Could the Totonac people have been in contact with other ancient civilizations, perhaps ones that we have yet to fully identify? The advanced astronomical knowledge, precise architectural planning, and use of advanced geometric design have led some to wonder whether El Tajín was influenced by a forgotten or undiscovered source of ancient wisdom. Could the city's architects have possessed knowledge passed down through secret societies or lost traditions that have long since been forgotten? Or were the people of El Tajín themselves simply ahead of their time, their innovations misunderstood or ignored by later cultures? The mysteries of El Tajín are vast and still unfolding. As excavations continue and new technologies allow for deeper exploration of this ancient site, more questions arise than answers. What was the true purpose of the Pyramid of the Niches? How did the people of El Tajín understand their place in the universe, and what drove their monumental architectural achievements? And, perhaps most intriguingly, what remains hidden beneath the jungle canopy, still waiting to be uncovered, still waiting to reveal its secrets to the modern world? As the shadows lengthen across the ruins of El Tajín, one thing becomes clear. This ancient city holds a deep mystery, and as with so many of the great archaeological discoveries of the past, the truth may be closer than we think, or it may be forever beyond our grasp. As we leave the enigmatic ruins of El Tajín behind, we turn our gaze south toward the arid deserts of Peru, where another monumental civilization once thrived. Here, amidst the parched plains of the northern coast, lies one of the most striking and mysterious archaeological sites of the ancient world, Huaca del Sol, the great temple of the Moche civilization. This imposing structure, a massive pyramid of sun-dried adobe bricks, stands as a silent witness to a civilization that flourished long before the rise of the Inca Empire, and yet much of its history remains shrouded in mystery. Huaca del Sol is part of a vast complex of temples and pyramids near the town of Trujillo. With its towering height, originally standing over 40 meters, this colossal structure looms over the surrounding landscape, casting long shadows across the desert floor. The pyramid, made of millions of mud bricks, is a testament to the Moche's advanced engineering and architectural skills. Yet, despite its size and complexity, the purpose of Huaca del Sol and the civilization that built it remains far from fully understood. Unlike the stone monuments of other ancient cultures, Huaca del Sol is constructed from adobe bricks, which have, over time, eroded due to the harsh desert climate. What remains today is a massive, crumbling pyramid that gives only a faint hint of its former glory. However, even in its ruined state, the sight is awe-inspiring. As the wind sweeps across the sun-drenched expanse, one can't help but feel the weight of history pressing in, an ancient structure, now half swallowed by the desert, still standing resolute, as if guarding a forgotten secret. The Moche people, who built Huaca del Sol, were master craftsmen, renowned for their pottery, textiles, and metallurgy. They thrived between 100 BC and 800 AD, during a time when the region was home to a complex tapestry of societies, each with its own beliefs, customs, and ways of life. The Moche civilization is best known for its impressive art, which often depicted gods, animals, and elaborate scenes of ritual sacrifice. But what were the Moche trying to communicate through their art and architecture? And why did they invest so heavily in the construction of massive temples like Huaca del Sol? Archaeologists have long debated the purpose of Huaca del Sol. Many believe that the pyramid served as a religious center, where ceremonies and rituals were performed to honor the gods. The Moche were known for their elaborate ceremonies, often involving human sacrifice, and Huaca del Sol may have been the focal point of these practices. Excavations have revealed evidence of burial chambers, suggesting that the pyramid may have also been a tomb or a place of ancestral worship. But could the true purpose of the pyramid be more complex than we realize? One of the most puzzling aspects of Huaca del Sol is the way it was built. Unlike other ancient pyramids, which were constructed in clear, orderly layers, the adobe bricks of Huaca del Sol were arranged in a distinctive pattern of slanted, overlapping rows. This technique, known as receding step construction, was likely designed to help the structure resist the forces of erosion caused by wind and rain, making the pyramid more durable. Yet, the scale of the effort involved in creating such a structure, using millions of adobe bricks, raises further questions. Why go to such extraordinary lengths to build a structure that would eventually be eroded by the very forces it was designed to withstand? Could Huaca del Sol have been more than just a temple or a tomb? Some theories suggest that it may have had astronomical significance. The Moche, like many ancient civilizations, had a keen interest in the movement of the stars and planets. Could the positioning of the pyramid be aligned with certain celestial events, such as the solstices or equinoxes? Or might Huaca del Sol have served as a kind of calendar, a monumental marker of time that tracked the movements of the heavens. The Moche people were known to have created intricate depictions of celestial bodies in their art, and it's possible that the pyramid itself held symbolic significance, marking the passage of time and the cycles of the natural world. Yet, despite the impressive feats of engineering and the fascinating cultural practices of the Moche, the collapse of their civilization remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of ancient history. By the time the Inca Empire rose to prominence in the 15th century, the Moche civilization had long since faded. What caused this dramatic decline? Was it the result of environmental factors such as drought or flooding that disrupted the Moche's agricultural base? Or was it a result of internal strife, as the elites and ruling classes became disconnected from the people they governed? Some believe that the Moche may have been overtaken by neighboring cultures, while others suggest that the collapse was more gradual, driven by a loss of faith in the religious and political systems that once held the society together. The truth is, no one knows for certain. What we do know is that Huaca del Sol stands as a silent testament to the mystery of the Moche civilization, a civilization that built one of the most impressive structures in pre-Columbian America, only to fade into obscurity. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Huaca del Sol is the possibility that it still holds secrets buried deep within its foundations. In recent years, archaeologists have continued to excavate the site, uncovering new chambers and artifacts that offer glimpses into the lives of the Moche people. Yet the sheer scale of the pyramid and the erosion of its exterior make it difficult to fully explore. Could there be hidden chambers or undiscovered relics that could shed light on the mysteries of the Moche civilization? Or will we never fully understand the purpose and meaning of Huaca del Sol, its secrets forever buried beneath layers of sand and time? As the sun sets over the ruins of Huaca del Sol, casting long shadows over the desert, one can't help but wonder what mysteries still lie hidden beneath the earth. What knowledge, long lost to history, could still be waiting to be uncovered? And will the answers to the questions that have baffled archaeologists for centuries ever be revealed? Or will they remain just beyond our reach, like the fading sun itself? The mystery of Huaca del Sol remains unsolved, and, as with many ancient sites, the story may never be fully told. But that, perhaps, is what makes it all the more captivating, an invitation to continue searching, to keep wondering, and to look ever deeper into the forgotten past. As we leave behind the remnants of Huaca del Sol and the mysteries of the Moche civilization, we turn our attention to a lost city that lies beneath the waters of the Ionian Sea. Known only by whispers of ancient texts and a handful of faint archaeological traces, the lost city of Helike stands as one of the most perplexing unsolved riddles in the world of ancient history. Once a thriving metropolis in ancient Greece, Helike vanished into the sea in a single catastrophic event. But what exactly happened to this city? And why has it eluded discovery for centuries? Helike was situated on the western shore of the Peloponnese, in what is today Greece. The city was once a powerful center of commerce, culture, and politics, located on a fertile plain near the Gulf of Corinth. It was known for its grandeur and prosperity, and by the 6th century BC, it was a major player in the regional politics of ancient Greece, particularly during the time of the Peloponnesian League. Helike was revered for its oracle, one of the few in ancient Greece outside Delphi, making it a site of religious pilgrimage. It was a city at the height of its glory, known for its wealth, its cultural importance, and its strategic position. Yet, despite its prominence, the city would be completely swallowed by the sea. Ancient accounts of Helike's destruction are as chilling as they are fascinating. The most detailed narrative comes from the Greek historian Pausanias, who wrote that in 373 BC, Helike was struck by a powerful earthquake, followed by a massive tsunami that devastated the city. The earth trembled, the sea roared, and within a single day, the great city of Helike vanished beneath the waves, never to be seen again. This sudden and violent destruction seemed almost biblical in its scope, leaving no trace of the city for centuries. The loss was so profound that it was said to have left an indelible scar on the local consciousness, a city and its people erased in the blink of an eye. For hundreds of years, Helike's location was lost to history. Ancient texts made reference to it, but its precise whereabouts remained a mystery. Archaeologists and historians scoured the region, but no conclusive evidence of its existence emerged. The once proud city, which had flourished under the auspices of the gods, seemed to have been swept away into oblivion. It wasn't until the late 19th century that a breakthrough occurred. In 1861, a Greek archaeologist named Panagiotis Stamatakis discovered a series of ruins beneath the waters of the Gulf of Corinth, near the modern-day village of Diakopi. These ruins were thought to be the remains of Helike, but further excavations proved inconclusive. Some of the structures appeared to match ancient descriptions of the city's buildings, but there was no definitive proof. The mysteries surrounding the city only deepened, leaving researchers with more questions than answers. So, what happened to Helike? Was the city truly destroyed by a natural disaster, as Pausanias claimed? Or was something else at play? The notion of a city suddenly and completely wiped out by an earthquake and tsunami is certainly compelling, but the evidence remains fragmentary. Some scholars argue that the earthquake was not the sole cause of Helike's demise, but rather the catalyst for a series of events, perhaps including flooding, subsidence, and even volcanic activity that led to its destruction. The region around the Gulf of Corinth is seismically active, and it's possible that a combination of factors triggered the cataclysmic event that swallowed the city. Yet, there are those who believe that Helike's disappearance might have a more complex, even mystical, explanation. Some have suggested that the destruction of Helike was not just a natural disaster, but a divine punishment, perhaps for some great transgression or hubris. In ancient Greek culture, cities that angered the gods often faced wrath in the form of plagues, destruction, or vanishing into the sea. Could Helike's destruction have been a form of divine retribution for some unknown crime, an event so traumatic that it was woven into the myths and legends of the region? But what of the city itself? What did it look like before it was lost to the waves? The remains that have been uncovered in the Gulf of Corinth are still quite limited, with much of the city's architecture and artifacts remaining buried beneath the silt and mud of the sea. Excavations have revealed pieces of pottery, inscriptions, and foundations of buildings, but little is known about the city's layout or its most significant monuments. What did the temples of Helike look like? What was its market square like, or its homes? These questions remain unanswered, leaving a gap in our understanding of one of Greece's lost cities. The absence of written records is another mystery that complicates our efforts to understand Helike. Unlike other ancient Greek cities, Helike left behind no surviving texts or detailed accounts of its history. The city's religious significance, mentioned in ancient sources, suggests that Helike may have been home to an important oracle, similar to Delphi. However, the details of the city's role in the larger Greek world remain largely unknown. Could there have been other reasons for its sudden disappearance, political, social, or economic factors that have been lost to time? Or is it possible that the city's great achievements were overshadowed by the tragic end that it met? The mystery of Helike is further complicated by its occasional reappearance in modern times. Some researchers believe that the city could still be buried beneath the sea, waiting to be rediscovered. Advances in underwater archaeology and remote sensing technologies are making it possible to survey the seabed more accurately than ever before. And some have suggested that the ruins of Helike could lie just out of reach, waiting to be unearthed by future explorers. Could there be intact buildings, ancient statues, or even the remains of the city's inhabitants still preserved beneath the waters of the Gulf of Corinth? As the years go by, the question remains: how much of Helike lies buried beneath the earth and sea, waiting for the right moment to be uncovered? And what can the lost city teach us about the fragility of civilizations, the forces of nature, and the mysteries that continue to elude us? Helike, like so many ancient cities, has left its mark on history, though it may be a mark that is still waiting to be fully revealed. The city's story, whether it is one of destruction, divine retribution, or a forgotten chapter of Greek history, still lingers in the shadows, waiting for the final pieces to be uncovered. As we leave behind the sunken ruins of Helike, we turn our attention to another site of ancient mystery, this time located on the windswept island of Minorca in the western Mediterranean. Here, amidst the quiet hills and rocky landscapes, stands a structure unlike any other: Naveta des Tudons. This ancient monument, shaped like an inverted ship, has endured the passage of over 4,000 years, yet its purpose and origins remain shrouded in mystery. It is a remarkable relic from the prehistoric world, offering tantalizing glimpses into the lives of the island's first inhabitants. Naveta des Tudons is a funerary monument built from massive stone blocks, and its shape, resembling a boat turned upside down, is a striking feature. The structure is about 14 meters long, 6 meters wide, and rises to a height of 5 meters. The stones, which have been weathered by centuries of wind and rain, seem to carry the weight of history in their silence, each block a testament to the ingenuity of the people who built it. Located in the heart of Minorca, the monument stands alone in a barren, rocky field, an enduring marker of an ancient civilization that once thrived on this isolated island. The purpose of Naveta des Tudons has been the subject of much debate and speculation. Archaeologists agree that it was likely used as a burial chamber, but the specifics remain elusive. The site is associated with the prehistoric culture of the Talatí period, which spanned from around 1000 BC to 100 AD. During this time, the island's inhabitants built impressive stone structures, such as talayots, tower-like structures, and taulas, megalithic monuments. But Naveta des Tudons stands apart as one of the most mysterious and well-preserved examples of the period. Inside the Naveta, archaeologists have uncovered human remains, along with pottery, tools, and other artifacts, indicating that it was indeed a site for burial. The layout of the tomb is equally intriguing. Long, narrow chambers are cut into the structure, suggesting that it may have been intended to house multiple individuals, perhaps entire families or important community members. Yet, even as we uncover more about its purpose as a burial site, the monument's design raises further questions. Why was it built in the shape of a boat, a form associated with seafaring cultures, when the people of Minorca were not known to have advanced maritime capabilities? Could there be a symbolic meaning behind the boat shape, one that ties into ancient beliefs about death, the afterlife, or journeys to other realms? The boat-shaped design of Naveta des Tudons has led some researchers to speculate that it may have had a ritualistic significance far beyond its role as a tomb. Could the shape represent a journey to the afterlife, with the deceased being metaphorically sailed to the next world? Some have drawn parallels between this structure and the boat-shaped burial mounds found in other ancient cultures, such as the Nordic peoples or even ancient Egypt. Was Naveta des Tudons designed to facilitate a spiritual voyage for the souls of the dead, perhaps even to mirror the journeys that the living would undertake in their daily lives? Despite these intriguing theories, there is little concrete evidence to support the idea that the Naveta functioned as more than a burial site. The Talayotic people of Minorca are thought to have been relatively isolated from other Mediterranean cultures, and it is unlikely that they had the maritime expertise to construct actual seafaring vessels. However, the symbolism of the boat remains a powerful and evocative idea. Perhaps it was a reflection of the people's spiritual beliefs or a connection to the natural world around them. The proximity of Naveta des Tudons to the sea and the island's rugged coastline only adds to the sense that the monument may have been a physical manifestation of the relationship between the people and the ocean, even if it was not directly connected to maritime trade or exploration. Another aspect of the Naveta that continues to perplex archaeologists is its construction. The stone blocks used to build the monument are massive, with some weighing several tons. These blocks were carefully cut and arranged with remarkable precision, suggesting a level of skill and organization that was uncommon for the time. Yet, there is no evidence of the tools or technology that the builders might have used. How did they manage to transport and shape such heavy stones without the advanced technology we associate with later civilizations? The mystery of how the people of Minorca constructed such a monument with seemingly simple tools remains unsolved. Could there have been an unknown technique that has since been lost to history, or was the work done through sheer labor and ingenuity? The mysterious nature of Naveta des Tudons is compounded by the lack of written records or inscriptions. Unlike other ancient cultures that left behind written texts to document their history and beliefs, the Talatí people left no such records. What we know of their culture comes primarily from the study of their architecture and artifacts, and even these are often open to interpretation. Without written language, we are left to piece together a fragmented picture of their society, relying on the physical remnants they left behind. In this way, Naveta des Tudons acts as a puzzle, with each stone and chamber offering clues, but no definitive answers. Moreover, Naveta des Tudons is just one of many such structures found on Minorca and the other Balearic Islands. Across the region, archaeologists have uncovered dozens of similar tombs, many of them built in the same boat-shaped design, suggesting that Naveta des Tudons was part of a broader cultural and spiritual tradition. What did these other monuments mean to the people who built them, and what can we learn from the widespread use of this design? Was there a unified belief system that tied together the construction of these tombs, or were they isolated practices unique to each community? The repetition of the boat shape in burial sites hints at a larger cultural significance, but the true meaning of this widespread motif remains a mystery. As we stand before Naveta des Tudons, it is hard not to be struck by the sheer sense of permanence and mystery that the monument evokes. The stones, worn by time and weather, continue to bear the marks of an ancient civilization that no longer exists, but whose beliefs and practices still provoke our curiosity. The boat-shaped tomb, with its intricate construction and evocative form, invites us to imagine the people who built it, and to ponder the lives and customs of the Talatí culture. Why did they choose to build in this way? What was the role of the Naveta in their society? And what secrets lie hidden beneath its weathered stones, waiting to be uncovered? Even as we continue to study the remains of Naveta des Tudons, the mystery of its origins and purpose remains unresolved. Perhaps in time, new discoveries will shed light on its construction and significance. Or perhaps the answers will always remain just beyond our grasp, leaving us to wonder about the ancient people of Minorca, their beliefs, and the world they left behind. As we step away from the windswept tombs of Naveta des Tudons, we find ourselves traveling eastward, to a place where the waters of the Danube River carve through the rugged terrain of the Balkans. Here, in the rolling hills of modern-day Serbia, lies one of the most remarkable and enigmatic archaeological sites in Europe, Lepenski Vir. This ancient settlement, which dates back to between 9,500 and 6,000 BC, has captivated archaeologists for decades, particularly due to its intricate stone layouts, which seem to defy the conventional understanding of early human architecture and symbolism. Lying along the banks of the Danube River, Lepenski Vir was a key site for the Mesolithic culture of the region. It is known for its impressive settlement remains, including houses, altars, and a rich array of artifacts. But it is the stone layouts of Lepenski Vir that truly set it apart from other ancient sites. These carefully arranged stones, which form patterns embedded in the ground, have puzzled scholars for years, with their purpose and meaning still largely unclear. Some suggest that the stones may have had ritualistic significance. Others propose that they were part of a complex, early form of urban planning, and still others wonder if they may represent a lost system of writing or symbols tied to ancient cosmology. The most striking feature of Lepenski Vir is its unique architectural style. The settlement is composed of several semicircular houses with large stone foundations, built with remarkable precision. The houses were arranged in clusters, with large open spaces between them, suggesting a social order of some sort, possibly linked to ritual or ceremonial practices. But as you walk among the ruins, what stands out most are the stone layouts, large flat slabs of stone embedded into the ground in deliberate geometric patterns, often surrounding the foundations of the dwellings. These stones are not random. Their arrangement appears too organized, too purposeful, to be the result of simple chance. One of the most striking aspects of these stone layouts is the recurring use of what appears to be a fish-like motif. Some of the stones are carved with abstract, fish-like shapes, while others have simple geometric patterns. These motifs are found repeatedly across the site, but their exact meaning remains an open question. Were these fish symbols purely decorative, or did they represent something far more profound? Fish were important in the diets and rituals of many ancient cultures, but the prominence of the fish motif at Lepenski Vir raises questions. Could it be a symbol of fertility, water, or abundance? Or does it suggest something deeper, perhaps a connection to an ancient belief system, one that has been lost to time? Another intriguing feature of the stone layouts is the alignment of the stones. The stones are positioned in a way that suggests a deliberate attempt to organize the space, possibly linked to astronomical or seasonal cycles. Some scholars have suggested that these patterns may have been designed to align with the sun or the stars, marking key moments in the agricultural calendar. If true, this would suggest that the people of Lepenski Vir had a sophisticated understanding of astronomy and the natural world long before the rise of written history. Was this early community attuned to the rhythms of the cosmos? And if so, did they use the stone layouts as a way to mark these cosmic events, creating a physical connection between the earth and the heavens? Yet, as with many aspects of Lepenski Vir, the precise purpose of the stone layouts remains elusive. Were they simply a form of decoration, or were they part of a more profound belief system, perhaps linked to the deceased, to the gods, or to a cosmic order? Some researchers have speculated that these patterns may have been used for ritualistic purposes, acting as sacred spaces for offerings or ceremonies. The very fact that these patterns were made with such care and attention to detail suggests that they held some sort of significance to the people who lived there. But what that significance was remains uncertain. In addition to the stone layouts, Lepenski Vir is known for its stunning collection of artifacts. The site has yielded numerous figurines, many of which appear to be representations of human and animal forms, as well as a variety of tools made from bone, stone, and antler. These artifacts suggest that the people of Lepenski Vir were skilled hunters, fishermen, and gatherers, with a rich cultural life that included art and craftsmanship. But what do these figurines mean? Some appear to represent deities, while others seem to symbolize animals or other natural elements. Could these figurines have been used in religious ceremonies, perhaps as offerings to the gods? Or could they represent an early form of ancestor worship or animism, in which the spirits of animals or the natural world were revered? Even more mysterious are the human figurines found at Lepenski Vir. These carved figures, which date to around 7000 BC, depict human-like forms with exaggerated features, including large eyes and prominent mouths. They are believed to have been part of the settlement's ritual practices, but their exact role remains speculative. Were they idols, offerings, or representations of gods? Or were they part of a more complex system of belief, one that linked the people of Lepenski Vir to forces beyond the physical world? The distinctiveness of these figurines suggests that the people of Lepenski Vir had a highly developed cultural and spiritual life, but what their beliefs actually were, and how they expressed them, remains a mystery. One of the most intriguing aspects of the site is the apparent deliberate positioning of the houses and the stone layouts in relation to the surrounding landscape. The settlement was built along the banks of the Danube River, and the arrangement of the structures suggests that the people of Lepenski Vir were not only concerned with the practical aspects of daily life, but also with the way their homes and rituals interacted with the natural world. Were the houses oriented in such a way as to face certain celestial events, or was there a deeper, more symbolic reason for their arrangement? Some theorists suggest that the settlements may have been aligned with lunar or solar cycles, marking the passage of time in a way that reflected the people's connection to the rhythms of nature. Others argue that the arrangement of the stones and structures could have had social or ceremonial significance, creating an organized space for the community's rituals. Despite the fascinating discoveries at Lepenski Vir, the true purpose of the stone layouts remains a puzzle. Was the site an early example of a religious center, a place where people gathered to honor the gods and perform rituals? Or was it something more, perhaps a place of scientific observation, where the movements of the stars and planets were recorded and understood? The stone layouts could even represent a complex system of communication, a form of ancient writing or symbolism that has yet to be deciphered. The possibilities are vast, and the questions, as always, seem to multiply the more we learn. In the end, Lepenski Vir stands as a testament to the ingenuity and mystery of humanity's early cultures. The stone layouts, with their abstract patterns and fish-like motifs, offer a glimpse into a world that is both familiar and profoundly alien. What do these stones represent? Were they simply markers of space and time, or were they part of something far more significant? A language, a ritual, a belief system lost to history? The answers may still be buried beneath the earth, waiting for the right discoveries to reveal them. And as we continue to study the ancient world, we are reminded that even the most puzzling fragments can unlock new windows into the minds and lives of those who came before us. As we leave behind the cryptic stone layouts of Lepenski Vir and the mysterious rituals of ancient Europe, we journey southward into the heart of northeastern Africa, where another ancient enigma awaits. Situated along the banks of the Nile, in modern-day Sudan, stands a site that has long intrigued archaeologists and historians alike: the Deffufa at Kerma. Known for its massive mud brick structure, this monumental creation stands as a silent witness to one of Africa's earliest and most fascinating civilizations. Yet, despite its grandeur, much of the mystery surrounding Kerma and the Deffufa remains unresolved. Kerma was the capital of the Kingdom of Kerma, an ancient Nubian civilization that flourished from around 2500 BC to 1500 BC. At its height, it was a thriving center of power, trade, and culture, competing with Egypt for dominance in the region. The Deffufa, a towering, stepped pyramid-like structure, was the focal point of this city. Made from sun-dried mud brick, it rises dramatically above the surrounding landscape, commanding the view of both the river and the desert beyond. Standing at 19 meters tall, the Deffufa is both an architectural marvel and a historical mystery. The Deffufa is often described as the centerpiece of Kerma, its imposing presence dominating the city's layout. It is believed to have served as a temple or ceremonial structure, though the exact nature of its purpose remains unknown. The structure itself is composed of mud brick, a material that, while common in the ancient world, adds to the mystery of how it has withstood the ravages of time. Over the centuries, the Deffufa has weathered harsh winds, sandstorms, and floods, but still it stands, proof of the ancient Nubians' impressive construction skills and their knowledge of how to manipulate materials to withstand the test of time. What truly sets the Deffufa apart, however, is its unusual design. Unlike Egyptian pyramids, which are known for their smooth geometric faces, the Deffufa has a stepped structure, resembling a series of large platforms stacked upon one another. Its form suggests a deliberate attempt at both grandeur and symbolic meaning. But why this design? Why did the builders of Kerma choose to construct such a massive structure out of mud brick when stone was available to their contemporaries in Egypt? What did the Deffufa symbolize for the people of Kerma? Some scholars speculate that the Deffufa served as a place of religious significance, perhaps as a temple dedicated to one of the gods of the Kerma pantheon. The people of Kerma worshipped various deities, including Amun and Ra, and it is possible that the Deffufa was a site for religious ceremonies and rituals. The stepped design might have symbolized a connection between the earth and the heavens, much like the ziggurats of ancient Mesopotamia. Could the Deffufa have been a ritual center, a space where priests and kings performed sacred rites to invoke the gods' favor? Could it have been a place of offerings, where the rulers of Kerma sought divine intervention for their kingdom's prosperity? Another possibility is that the Deffufa had a funerary purpose. The kingdom of Kerma is known for its elaborate burial practices, which included tombs for kings and nobility, often accompanied by rich grave goods and offerings. Some researchers have suggested that the Deffufa may have been a symbolic burial mound, a representation of the afterlife, where the spirit of the deceased could ascend to the heavens. If the Deffufa was indeed a funerary monument, what does that tell us about the Kerma belief system? What kind of afterlife did they envision for their rulers, and how did this structure fit into that cosmic view? But even as we ask these questions, the evidence remains frustratingly scarce. The ruins of Kerma are fragmented, and the Deffufa has been stripped of much of its original content over the centuries. While some artifacts have been uncovered, small pottery fragments, weapons, and tools, there are no inscriptions or texts to shed light on the precise purpose of the Deffufa. Unlike Egypt, where hieroglyphic records abound, the Nubians of Kerma left no written records that could explain their monumental structures. Without these records, we are left to speculate based on the physical remains of the site and the broader cultural context. In addition to the Deffufa, excavations at Kerma have revealed a series of large burial mounds, known as tumuli, which are believed to have served as tombs for the royal family. These mounds, which predate the construction of the Deffufa, contain the remains of several individuals, some buried with vast quantities of gold, jewelry, and pottery. This lavish burial practice suggests a society that was not only wealthy, but also deeply invested in the concept of the afterlife. Could these tombs be linked to the religious or funerary practices associated with the Deffufa? Were the kings and queens of Kerma buried in a manner befitting their divine status, with the Deffufa serving as a spiritual bridge between life and death? Another fascinating aspect of Kerma is the lack of archaeological evidence linking it directly to Egypt, despite the geographical proximity between the two civilizations. Egypt and Nubia had a long history of interaction, both peaceful and violent, yet the culture of Kerma remains distinct from that of Egypt. This raises an interesting question. Was the kingdom of Kerma an independent, self-sustaining civilization, or did it rely on trade and cultural exchange with Egypt and other neighboring regions? The archaeological record shows that the Nubians of Kerma were skilled metalworkers and traders, with access to a variety of materials not readily available in Egypt, such as gold, ivory, and exotic animals. Could the Deffufa have been a symbol of Nubian autonomy, a statement of independence from Egyptian influence? Or was it a sign of Nubian reverence for the Egyptian gods and their own divine rulers? As we continue to explore Kerma and the Deffufa, it becomes clear that this site is far more than just a relic of the past. The Deffufa stands as a symbol of the sophistication and mystery of the Nubian civilization, a civilization whose complexities and achievements remain largely obscured by time. The questions surrounding the Deffufa, its purpose, its design, and its connection to the rest of the ancient world, are as unanswered today as they were when the first archaeologists uncovered the site. Perhaps, like many other ancient sites, the full significance of the Deffufa will remain hidden from us, a riddle whose true answer may never be revealed. Or perhaps future discoveries will shed new light on this ancient structure, offering insights into the lives and beliefs of the Nubian people. What was the Deffufa? Was it a religious temple, a funerary monument, or something else entirely? And what other mysteries lie buried beneath the sands of Kerma, waiting to be uncovered? As the Nile continues to flow past the ancient site, the unanswered questions of Kerma remain suspended in the air, inviting us to wonder, what more can we learn from this enigmatic piece of history? As we leave behind the vast, sun-scorched desert of Nubia, our journey now takes us westward, to a place where the rolling hills of southern Spain meet the quiet, ancient rhythms of the Mediterranean. Here, nestled among olive groves and rugged landscapes, stands an extraordinary stone structure, a monument of mystery that has withstood the test of millennia, Dolmen de la Pastora. This prehistoric megalithic tomb, dating back to the late Neolithic period around 3000 BC, offers a tantalizing glimpse into the distant past, one that is both familiar and perplexing. Yet, despite being one of the most well-preserved dolmens in the Iberian Peninsula, much about Dolmen de la Pastora remains enigmatic. The dolmen itself is an imposing structure. Composed of large, flat stones arranged to form a rectangular chamber, it measures about 10 meters long and 4 meters wide. The burial chamber, supported by massive upright stones, is covered by a capstone that is so heavy it can only be described as monumental. The sheer scale and precision of the construction raise immediate questions. How did the people of this region, with their rudimentary tools, manage to move and place such colossal stones? The dolmen stands as a testament to an ancient society capable of impressive engineering feats, and yet we still know very little about the people who built it, or why they chose such an extraordinary and enduring form for their burial practices. As you approach the Dolmen de la Pastora, the first thing that strikes you is the sheer scale of the monument in the landscape. The tomb is not isolated. It sits within a broader complex of similar megalithic structures scattered across the hills of the region, suggesting that it was part of a larger, deeply integrated cultural practice. There is a sense that these dolmens were not merely physical structures, but anchors of ritual, belief, and perhaps social identity. Was Dolmen de la Pastora simply a burial site, or did it hold a deeper, more symbolic role within the community? Archaeologists have uncovered various human remains within these types of megalithic tombs, as well as pottery, tools, and other artifacts. However, Dolmen de la Pastora has yielded few remains, which only deepens the mystery. Some have suggested that this lack of human evidence could point to the dolmen being used for ceremonial purposes, rather than as a typical burial site. Could it have served as a shrine, a place of ritual offerings to the gods, or perhaps as a sacred site for community gatherings? The absence of direct burial evidence also raises an intriguing question. Did the people of this region have different customs for the burial of their dead, possibly even rituals that we have yet to fully comprehend? The dolmen is oriented in such a way that it aligns with the surrounding landscape in a manner that suggests a deliberate connection between the structure and the natural world. Its entrance faces east, toward the rising sun, a feature that has led some researchers to speculate about its alignment with celestial events. Could this be a place where the rising sun marked key moments in the agricultural calendar, such as the solstices or equinoxes? The placement of Dolmen de la Pastora within the landscape suggests that it was carefully designed to integrate with the rhythms of the natural world. The people who built it may have believed that the forces of nature, earth, sun, and sky, were intimately connected with the spirits of their ancestors. Was this tomb meant to channel cosmic energy, or was it a symbolic representation of the journey between life and death, where the sun's rise and set mirrored the cycles of the human soul? Despite its grandeur and the sophistication of its construction, the true meaning of Dolmen de la Pastora remains elusive. There are many theories, but little hard evidence to definitively explain why this site was built, or what it symbolized to those who created it. Some suggest that it was connected to the wider network of megalithic tombs found throughout the Iberian Peninsula, all of which share similar architectural features. This has led to the hypothesis that these dolmens were part of a larger, shared religious or cultural tradition, perhaps related to ancestor worship or cosmology. But was there a unified belief system, or were these monuments the result of individual tribal practices, each with its own interpretation of the afterlife and the role of the dead? The construction methods used to build these dolmens have sparked much debate. The large stones, some of which weigh several tons, were moved with remarkable precision, suggesting a high level of coordination and technical skill. How did these early societies, with their limited tools, manage to manipulate such immense stones? Theories range from the use of levers and ramps to more speculative ideas, such as the use of now-lost techniques or even supernatural assistance. What is clear, however, is that the dolmens were not constructed hastily. They were carefully planned and executed, implying that they held great importance for the people who built them. But how did the builders of Dolmen de la Pastora view these stones? Were they simply building a tomb, or were they constructing a monument that symbolized something far greater than just death? Was the act of moving these stones a ritual in itself, a form of reverence or veneration for the forces of nature or the ancestors? Among the most intriguing aspects of Dolmen de la Pastora is its possible connection to the wider Neolithic world. The megalithic culture of which it is a part spread across Western Europe, from the British Isles to the Iberian Peninsula and into the heart of France. Yet these dolmens vary in design and scale, raising questions about the diversity of beliefs and practices in this ancient world. Was there a shared cosmological framework uniting these different cultures, or were the dolmens an expression of regional variations on a common theme? The recurring presence of astronomical alignments in these megalithic structures suggests that the builders were keenly aware of celestial cycles. Could Dolmen de la Pastora have served as a way to mark the passage of time, perhaps a ritualistic method of connecting with the heavens in a way that transcended the mundane? One particularly fascinating theory is that the dolmens, with their complex designs and deliberate alignments, might have been intended to facilitate communication with the dead. Could the dolmen structure have been a way to channel the energy of the cosmos to guide the spirits of the departed? Perhaps the monument was more than just a tomb. It could have been a portal to another realm, where the living and the dead were believed to coexist in a cyclical, ever-present relationship. The alignment of the tomb with the sun might have symbolized the eternal nature of the soul, a soul that was reborn with each new sunrise. But what kind of belief system would have inspired such a structure? Despite the layers of speculation and analysis, Dolmen de la Pastora continues to confound us. It stands as a monument to a long-lost world, a world where the boundaries between life, death, and the cosmos were likely viewed in ways we can only begin to understand. The dolmen's massive stones, carefully positioned and weathered by time, hold more questions than answers. Was it a tomb, a temple, a celestial observatory, or perhaps a symbolic doorway between this world and the next? The mystery of Dolmen de la Pastora endures, urging us to continue looking for answers. But, as with many ancient sites, we may never know its full significance. What else might lie hidden in its shadows, waiting for us to uncover. As we leave behind the ancient, enigmatic megaliths of Dolmen de la Pastora, our journey now takes us to the cloud-shrouded mountains of Peru, where, hidden in the dense mist of the Andes, lies another extraordinary and largely unexplained archaeological site, the Vilcabamba Stone Complex. This ancient complex, tucked away in the heart of the Inca heartland, stands as an incredible testament to the mystery of pre-Columbian South America. Surrounded by lush vegetation, remote and difficult to access, the Vilcabamba Stone Complex remains one of the most baffling and fascinating discoveries of its kind. The site itself is a series of carefully cut and shaped stones, arranged in an intricate manner that seems almost too deliberate to be the work of nature. These stones, some weighing several tons, are positioned in ways that suggest both architectural and symbolic importance. The precision with which these stones have been cut and placed raises immediate questions. How did the builders, likely the ancient ancestors of the Inca, manage to shape and move such massive stones with the limited tools available to them? And what was the true purpose of this remote site, hidden far from the more famous and well-documented Incan cities? The Vilcabamba Stone Complex is often linked to the enigmatic lost city of Vilcabamba, the last stronghold of the Inca Empire before its fall to Spanish conquerors in the 16th century. Yet, unlike Machu Picchu or Sacsayhuaman, Vilcabamba is less well known, largely because of its location and the fact that much of the site remains unexcavated. The stones, while not as monumental as those found in the famous Incan sites, are impressive in their own right. The complex includes a series of platforms, walls, and terraces, structures that suggest it may have been an important ceremonial center or a place of worship. One of the most remarkable features of the site is the way the stones have been placed with such remarkable precision. Some stones seem to fit together so perfectly that it is difficult to imagine how they could have been moved without sophisticated engineering tools, which the Incas themselves are not believed to have had. Was there some ancient knowledge or lost technology that allowed the builders of Vilcabamba to manipulate the stones with such precision? Some researchers have speculated that these stones might have been part of a larger, perhaps even ritualistic, design, something designed to align with celestial events, such as solstices or equinoxes. Could the positioning of the stones have been meant to mark specific times of the year, or was there a deeper cosmological significance behind their placement? Another intriguing aspect of the Vilcabamba Stone Complex is its proximity to a number of other important archaeological sites in the region. Just a short distance from the site is the remains of the ancient Inca Trail, which once connected various Incan cities across the Andean Mountains. The proximity of Vilcabamba to this trade and communication route suggests that it may have been a key site for the Inca Empire, whether as a military outpost, a religious center, or a place of political importance. But if it was so important, why has it been left largely forgotten, obscured by the dense vegetation of the jungle and the passage of time? The site's connection to the Inca Empire is particularly compelling, especially given the intricate craftsmanship of the stones. While the Inca were known for their incredible stonework, the methods they used to build such structures were largely based on techniques that didn't involve the use of mortar, relying instead on the perfect fit of each stone. Vilcabamba, however, presents a mystery. The stones here seem to have been shaped and cut with a precision that goes beyond even the well-known Inca stonework. Could this suggest a different tradition, one that predated the Inca, or perhaps a knowledge passed down from earlier, more advanced cultures? Could there have been influences from other, as yet unknown civilizations that also inhabited the region long before the Inca rose to power? At the heart of the complex lies a massive stone platform, its purpose unclear, but its presence undeniable. Some scholars believe that this could have been a site for ritual ceremonies, perhaps a place where the ancestors were honored or where important religious events were held. The surrounding stone structures might have been used to amplify sound or to create visual alignments with the surrounding landscape. Could the platform itself have been designed to interact with the natural environment in ways we are only beginning to understand? Its connection to the cosmos, the natural world, or even an early form of astronomical observation is a question that continues to provoke interest. Despite its grandeur and the evidence suggesting that it was once a key site in the ancient world, the purpose of the Vilcabamba stone complex remains one of the most perplexing mysteries of the Incan Empire. Was it a royal retreat, a ceremonial center, or a place of worship for the ancient people of the Andes? Was it connected to the Inca, or could it be even older, a precursor to their civilization? While the site remains shrouded in mystery, its very existence forces us to reconsider our understanding of the ancient world. The Inca were known for their mastery of stonework, but the complexities of the Vilcabamba stone complex suggest a depth of knowledge and skill that we have only begun to grasp. One of the most puzzling aspects of the complex is the fact that it appears to have been intentionally hidden from the eyes of later civilizations. The stones were arranged in such a way that the site remained hidden in plain sight, camouflaged by the dense jungle that has overtaken the area over the centuries. Did the ancient inhabitants of the Vilcabamba stone complex intend for it to be forgotten by future generations? Or was it simply the passage of time and the decay of memory that allowed the site to slip into obscurity? Another lingering question revolves around the role of this site in relation to other Incan cities and sacred spaces. The Incas were known for their complex systems of communication, their intricate network of roads and trails that spanned thousands of miles across the Andes. Could Vilcabamba have been a part of this network, perhaps serving as a place of strategic importance for the Inca rulers? Or was it a spiritual or ceremonial center, akin to Machu Picchu, which remained isolated for centuries, hidden in the mountains from the Spanish invaders? Could it have been a sacred site dedicated to the sun, the stars, or the moon, aligning with the natural world in ways we are still trying to decode? As we study the Vilcabamba stone complex, we are reminded that the ancient world often holds more questions than answers. The stones, carefully placed and seemingly aligned with celestial events, whisper of a culture whose understanding of the natural world may have been far more advanced than we can fully comprehend. The purpose of the site, its connection to the Inca, and its mysterious design continue to captivate researchers, prompting us to ask, what knowledge have we yet to uncover? What secrets lie hidden in the stones of Vilcabamba, waiting to be revealed? As the fog of the Andean mountains continues to swirl around the ruins of Vilcabamba, we are left to wonder, how many more hidden, forgotten places like this remain, waiting to be rediscovered? And what might they reveal about the ancient peoples who lived in harmony with the forces of the natural world, a world that still holds many of its deepest secrets from us? After leaving behind the mist-covered landscapes of Vilcabamba, we now venture eastward, across the expanse of Central Asia, to a region where ancient secrets lie etched in stone, waiting to be discovered. Here, in the dry, sun-scorched land of Azerbaijan, we find one of the most enigmatic sites in the world of ancient archaeology, the Gobustan Rock art cultural landscape, a sprawling network of petroglyphs carved into the cliffs of Gobustan. This site, once a thriving center of prehistoric activity, remains a mysterious testament to the long-lost cultures that once flourished in the region. The Gobustan Rock art consists of over 6,000 petroglyphs that date back to around 5,000 to 40,000 years ago, though some experts suggest the carvings may even be older. Spread across an area of approximately 537 hectares, these carvings capture a moment in time when the people of this region lived in harmony with nature, perhaps unaware of the lasting impression their works would have on future generations. As you stand before the rock faces, you can't help but feel the weight of history. The carvings are a window into the minds of these ancient people, offering glimpses into their lives, their beliefs, and their surroundings. The images depict everything from human figures, animals, and abstract symbols to scenes of hunting, dancing, and ritual. The sheer variety of images leaves us with more questions than answers. The human figures are often shown in dynamic poses, suggesting movement or interaction. Some appear to be hunting, while others seem engaged in ceremonial dances or rituals. The animals depicted are mostly those that would have been familiar to these ancient people, such as wild goats, bulls, horses, and deer. There are also strange and unsettling figures, creatures with multiple limbs or exaggerated features that seem to defy simple classification. Some of the carvings are so intricately detailed that they appear almost lifelike, while others are more abstract, their meaning impossible to decipher. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Gobustan Rock art is the depiction of what may be early forms of shamanistic practices. Many of the carvings show figures that appear to be in the throes of some kind of ritualistic trance or spiritual experience. These figures are often surrounded by animals, perhaps symbolizing a connection between the human and animal worlds. Could these images represent an early form of religious or spiritual practice, one that linked the people to the forces of nature, the animals, and the divine? Was this a culture in which rituals and ceremonies played a central role in daily life? The motifs of dancing, hunting, and animals suggest that these people may have had a rich belief system, one that was closely tied to the rhythms of nature and the cycles of life. But as we try to understand the significance of these ancient images, we are immediately struck by the limitations of our knowledge. Despite the fact that the Gobustan Rock art has been studied for centuries, there is no consensus among scholars about its purpose or meaning. Were these carvings simply a form of early communication, like a prehistoric diary or calendar, recording the passage of time and events? Or were they a form of art, created for aesthetic pleasure, or as an expression of the artist's imagination? Some researchers suggest that the petroglyphs could have been a form of early storytelling, visual narratives designed to preserve myths, legends, or historical events for future generations. But if this is the case, why are so many of the figures shrouded in mystery, their meanings lost to time? Another puzzling element of the Gobustan Rock art is its location. Gobustan sits on the edge of the Caspian Sea, in a region that, at the time the carvings were made, would have been much more fertile and lush than it is today. Some researchers speculate that the area was once a major crossroads for ancient peoples, a place where different cultures met and interacted. The carvings, in this case, could reflect a blend of different traditions, beliefs, and mythologies. But what exactly were these people trying to convey? And why did they choose such an isolated, seemingly inhospitable place to carve their images into stone? Was this site sacred to them, a location where the forces of nature and the spiritual world could be more easily accessed? Could the carvings themselves have been created for ritualistic purposes, as part of a sacred practice of channeling energy or invoking the divine? One particularly enigmatic aspect of the Gobustan Rock art is the depiction of what may be one of the earliest representations of celestial bodies. Some petroglyphs appear to show the moon, stars, or even what some interpret as solar eclipses. Could these images suggest an early form of astronomy or an understanding of the cosmos that predates recorded history? The people of Gobustan may have been watching the heavens closely, tracking the movement of the sun and stars, perhaps using the natural world to guide their activities. Were the carvings intended to mark significant celestial events, such as the solstices, equinoxes, or lunar phases, that were central to the rhythm of life for these early people? If so, what other knowledge about the stars, planets, and timekeeping might these ancient artists have possessed? Some scholars have even suggested that the Gobustan Rock art contains evidence of early forms of astronomical alignment. The position of certain petroglyphs, particularly those depicting animals, suggests that the rock art may have been positioned deliberately to align with the movement of the sun or stars at certain times of the year. Could this have been an early form of astronomical observatory, where the people of Gobustan used the landscape and their carvings as a way to track the heavens? If this is true, it raises fascinating questions about the extent to which these early cultures understood the cosmos, and how they may have used that knowledge in their daily lives and religious practices. Yet, despite all of this evidence, there is still so much that remains unknown about the Gobustan rock art. Its true purpose, the exact meaning behind its various motifs, and the specific culture responsible for its creation continue to elude us. Theories abound, but each is constrained by the limits of what we can infer from the rocks themselves. Some believe that the carvings were a form of ancient communication for early humans, while others argue that they were purely artistic. Some even speculate that the petroglyphs could represent early attempts at writing, a way for people to record their thoughts, their beliefs, or their history. Even more mysterious is the question of how these ancient carvings were created. The artists who made the petroglyphs had no metal tools, and yet the precision and detail of the carvings are astonishing. Were they using rudimentary stone tools, or did they possess methods of stone carving that have been lost to history? And what of the symbolism within the petroglyphs? How did these ancient people interpret their world, and how did they communicate that worldview through images? As we stand before the ancient rocks of Gobustan, it's easy to feel both awe and frustration. The answers seem just out of reach, and yet the site remains as vivid and evocative as it must have been thousands of years ago. Gobustan rock art is a reminder of how much we still have to learn about our ancient ancestors, and how the past often speaks in ways that we cannot yet fully understand. Could these carvings be the key to unlocking a deeper understanding of prehistoric belief systems, astronomy, and art? Or are they simply remnants of a lost world, whose meaning may forever remain beyond our grasp? The mystery of Gobustan remains unsolved, but it continues to captivate us, offering more questions than answers. And perhaps that is exactly what makes it so compelling, because in those questions, we see the rich, complex history of humanity, stretching out before us like the stones themselves, waiting to be interpreted. What else lies hidden in the desert, waiting for the light of discovery to shine upon it? As we leave behind the mysterious landscapes of Gobustan, we now find ourselves crossing the seas, venturing into the heart of the English countryside, where an ancient monument lies, barely noticed by the modern world. It is here, in the rolling hills of Derbyshire, that we encounter one of Britain's most enigmatic prehistoric sites, Arbor Low. This circular stone complex, often referred to as the Stonehenge of the North, rests atop a hill, its weathered stones standing stoically against the elements, offering a silent testament to a long-lost civilization. The site is striking, but its mystery lies not just in the physical structure, but in what it represents. Unlike Stonehenge, which is frequently discussed and celebrated, Arbor Low remains relatively unknown to the general public. Yet, the stones here are no less remarkable, an impressive ring of roughly 50 large stones, most of which are now toppled or shattered, encircles a central cairn or burial mound. In some places, the stones still stand upright, tall and imposing, like sentinels from an era long past. The whole structure gives off an air of forgotten reverence, as if the stones are silently guarding the secrets of a bygone age. The exact date of Arbor Low remains uncertain. Archaeologists estimate that it was constructed somewhere between 2500 and 2000 BC, a time when the first wave of megalithic stone monuments were being erected across Europe. Though its construction seems to coincide with the late Neolithic or early Bronze Age, there is no definitive record of who built it or why. This is one of the many questions that shroud Arbor Low in mystery. Who were these ancient people, and what did they intend to convey with such an elaborate structure? The layout of Arbor Low is simple yet profound in its design. The outer stone circle is interrupted by a single entrance, aligned with the solstitial sunrises, suggesting an astronomical significance to the site. The central mound, where human remains have been discovered, suggests that Arbor Low was also a burial site, perhaps for the elite or for important individuals within the society. The stones themselves, although weathered and fragmented, bear the marks of deliberate carving, indicating that they were not merely a random collection of rocks, but rather carefully selected and shaped for a specific purpose. One of the most intriguing aspects of Arbor Low is its apparent alignment with the movements of the sun. Like many megalithic sites across Europe, it seems to have been built with an acute understanding of solar and lunar cycles. The positioning of the stones, particularly the entrance, appears to track the sun's movement during the solstices. Was Arbor Low a temple dedicated to solar worship, a place where ancient peoples gathered to honor the sun during significant seasonal events? Or was it a place of ritual, a location where ancient ceremonies were performed to invoke the sun's power for agricultural or spiritual reasons? Perhaps it was both, serving as a ceremonial center and a place of burials for those who wielded power over the seasons. Yet, as is often the case with prehistoric sites, there is no consensus on the true purpose of Arbor Low. While some believe it was a ceremonial site, others suggest that it was more akin to a tomb, a place where the dead were laid to rest in a structure that symbolized both the circle of life and the eternal journey of the soul. The fact that Arbor Low contains a burial mound adds weight to this theory, suggesting that the people who built it were focused not only on the heavens, but also on the afterlife. The lack of definitive evidence, however, leaves much of the site's meaning open to speculation. Did Arbor Low serve as a gathering place for ritualistic ceremonies or astronomical observations, or was it more closely tied to death and the afterlife? The carvings on the stones, though few, show subtle markings that could represent symbols of power or religious significance. Could these symbols be tied to a lost belief system, one that has been forgotten over time? And if so, what might that belief system have entailed? Another layer of mystery surrounds the stones themselves. Unlike other megalithic sites such as Stonehenge, where the stones were transported from distant quarries, the stones at Arbor Low are believed to have been sourced locally. Yet, the sheer effort involved in hauling such heavy stones from the surrounding area raises questions. How did the builders, armed with little more than primitive tools, move and position these stones with such precision? Was there a lost method of construction or a knowledge passed down from an earlier civilization, one that allowed them to manipulate the stones with incredible efficiency? Could this reflect a much older, forgotten technology, one that predated even the well-known stoneworking techniques of the Neolithic period? As with many other ancient monuments, the reasons behind the building of Arbor Low remain shrouded in mystery. One theory is that the site may have been part of a larger network of megalithic structures that formed a cultural or spiritual landscape across the region. Much like the ancient cultures of the Mediterranean and the Near East, the people who built Arbor Low might have seen the landscape as sacred, with specific sites chosen for their connection to the natural world. The stone circle may have been constructed to enhance the connection between the earth and the heavens, a way of bringing the divine presence into the lives of the people who gathered there. The relationship between Arbor Low and other nearby ancient sites is also intriguing. Just a few miles away lies another megalithic monument, the Nine Ladies Stone Circle, and many believe there was a deliberate connection between these two sites. The proximity of these monuments suggests that the ancient peoples of this region may have shared a common religious or spiritual tradition, one that was centered around the observation of natural cycles and celestial events. Could Arbor Low and other nearby stone circles have been part of a larger ceremonial landscape where the people moved from site to participate in seasonal festivals, astronomical rites, or funerary practices? Theories abound about Arbor Low, and while some of them are grounded in the known archaeological record, others venture into more speculative territory. Some have suggested that the site could have had a much broader significance, perhaps serving as a center of political power or as a place of communal decision-making. It's even been proposed that Arbor Low could have been a site for early forms of astronomical observation, with the stones acting as a primitive observatory to track the movements of the stars and planets. This would explain the careful alignment of the structure with the solstices, as well as the significance of the central burial mound. But, like so many other ancient sites, Arbor Low offers more questions than answers. The lack of written records from the time of its construction means that we can only speculate about the true purpose of this impressive monument. Was it a place of worship, a burial site, or an observatory? Or was it something else entirely? Perhaps a place of power, where the rulers of an ancient society controlled the rituals that governed both the living and the dead? As we stand before the remnants of Arbor Low, we are left to wonder what knowledge has been lost to time. The site's quiet, weathered stones seem to hold secrets that may never be fully uncovered. Was Arbor Low built to honor the sun, the stars, or the ancestors? Or did it serve as a more practical structure, an enduring symbol of an ancient people's mastery over the natural world? Perhaps, in the silence of the stone circle, we are hearing the echoes of a long-forgotten belief system, one that tied together the cosmic and the earthly in a way that we can only begin to understand. As the wind whispers through the stones, we are reminded that the past often leaves behind more questions than answers. And in the case of Arbor Low, those questions remain as elusive and enduring as the monument itself. What were these ancient people trying to say with their stones? And what knowledge do these silent ancient rocks still hold, waiting perhaps for the right moment to reveal their secrets? As we leave behind the rolling hills and stone circles of Arbor Low, we now turn our gaze to a quieter, less visited corner of ancient Britain, a place where the earth itself holds a secret, patiently waiting to be unearthed. Hidden in the verdant countryside of Gloucestershire, England, the stony Littleton Long Barrow stands as a silent sentinel, its weathered stones guarding the secrets of a distant past. Here, nestled beneath the gentle slopes of a hill, this Neolithic tomb remains one of the most evocative and mysterious burial sites in all of Europe. At first glance, Stony Littleton appears as little more than an ancient mound of earth and stone, a nondescript burial barrow that blends seamlessly into the landscape. However, beneath the surface lies a far more complex structure, one that suggests a profound understanding of both the human experience and the cosmos. The barrow, dating back to around 3,500 BC, is not simply a pile of rubble. It is an intricate tomb, constructed with purpose and care, designed to hold the remains of the dead in a manner that was clearly significant to its creators. The barrow's most striking feature is its unusual shape. Long, narrow, and elongated, it stretches across the landscape like a great serpent lying in repose. This burial mound, unlike many of its contemporaries, is a long barrow, a type of megalithic structure found across Britain and northern Europe. It was originally constructed from stone and earth, with a carefully designed entrance leading to a narrow, stone-lined passageway. At the end of this passage, within the heart of the barrow, lie the remains of what appears to have been a communal burial site. It is this very passageway, with its dark, narrow confines, that sets Stony Littleton apart from other burial mounds of its time. The entrance to the long barrow is marked by two large stone slabs, now worn by the centuries, which frame the way into this ancient structure. The passage itself is around 12 meters long, constructed with a series of massive stone blocks that form a corridor leading toward the heart of the barrow. Inside, archaeologists have discovered evidence of multiple burials, with human bones arranged in carefully placed deposits along the walls. The skeletal remains suggest that Stony Littleton was used for ritualistic purposes, where the dead were placed in a manner that indicates the respect and reverence afforded to them. But what purpose did this complex arrangement serve, and why was such an elaborate structure needed for those who passed away? Perhaps the most striking feature of the barrow is the fact that its builders went to great lengths to align it with the cardinal points of the compass. The entrance is precisely aligned to the midwinter sunset, a fact that suggests that the people who built Stony Littleton had a profound understanding of the sun's cycle and the significance of the changing seasons. Did the barrow function as a site of astronomical observation, where the movements of the sun were tracked and recorded by its builders? Was the burial site, perhaps, a place where the souls of the dead were thought to ascend or descend with the changing of the seasons? The alignment of the entrance, pointing directly toward the setting sun during the winter solstice, implies that the builders of Stony Littleton saw death and the passage of the seasons as intimately connected, and that they believed in some form of cyclical renewal, an idea that would resonate with ancient cultures across the world. The passageway itself has sparked much intrigue among archaeologists and historians, with its structure suggesting a deep spiritual or religious significance. Was this narrow corridor meant to symbolize the journey of the soul from the world of the living to the afterlife, a symbolic passage into the next world? The long, dark tunnel may have served as a metaphor for the transition between life and death, guiding the deceased through a final journey toward the unknown. The bones that have been discovered within the barrow appear to have been placed in a manner that hints at ritualistic practice. Some bodies were carefully laid to rest along the walls, while others were placed within the central chamber, suggesting that the deceased were honored and respected in life, and that their memory was preserved with great care. But why such an elaborate effort? Why the attention to detail, the careful alignment with the sun, and the deliberate design of the passageway? The mystery deepens when we consider the broader context of the Stony Littleton long barrow within the landscape. Like other megalithic tombs of the period, it was part of a larger, interconnected system of sacred sites that dot the countryside of southern England. These sites, scattered across the region like puzzle pieces, seem to form a kind of spiritual network, one that may have connected the living with the dead, the human world with the divine. What role did Stony Littleton play in this network? Was it part of a larger religious or ceremonial tradition shared by other communities? And if so, what beliefs or practices did these people hold, and how were these beliefs communicated through their architecture and burial rituals? Further adding to the intrigue is the fact that many of the bones discovered within the tomb show signs of having been disturbed or manipulated. Some of the remains appear to have been moved or reburied multiple times, suggesting that the tomb was not only a place of final resting, but a site for ongoing rites and ceremonies. Could it have been that the burial process was not a one-time event, but rather part of an ongoing cycle of renewal, with the dead being honored and reburied over generations? If so, what did this say about the people's relationship with death and the afterlife? Theories abound about the nature of the rituals practiced at Stony Littleton. Some scholars suggest that the site may have served as a temple, a place where the living would come to commune with the spirits of their ancestors, while others propose that it was a kind of astronomical observatory, aligned with the changing seasons and the movement of the sun. Could the site have been used for ritual feasts, or even for the veneration of specific deities? Was the placement of the bones an act of reverence, or did it have a more pragmatic function, perhaps a way of ensuring the continued fertility of the land or the prosperity of the community? Another element that deepens the mystery of Stony Littleton is the unusual nature of its construction. The stones that make up the structure of the barrow are not from the local area, but rather were transported from distant quarries, suggesting that the builders of this tomb had access to a complex network of trade and communication. Did the people who constructed Stony Littleton have contact with other groups across Britain and Europe, exchanging ideas and practices? Could this tomb have been built by a group that was deeply connected to the wider megalithic culture? And if so, what can we learn from their shared traditions? Despite extensive archaeological study, much of the meaning behind Stony Littleton remains elusive. We can speculate, theorize, and reconstruct based on the evidence we have, but the deeper spiritual and cultural significance of the site still lies hidden beneath the earth. The alignment with the solstices, the carefully designed passageway, the remains of the dead. Each of these elements hints at a rich, complex worldview that we may never fully understand. As we stand before this silent monument, we are left to wonder, what did the people of Stony Littleton truly believe about death, the afterlife, and the natural world? What rituals did they perform within this sacred space, and what messages did they intend to pass on to future generations? The tomb lies in quiet repose, offering only hints of its former life, waiting for us to unravel its mysteries. In the end, the truth about Stony Littleton remains just out of reach, a reminder that some ancient stories may never be fully told. As we leave behind the ancient mounds and megalithic circles of Britain, our journey now takes us to a remote desert landscape in the heart of Saudi Arabia, an area that, to the untrained eye, may seem barren and unremarkable. But beneath the sun-bleached sands of the Al-Rajajil region lies an enigma that has baffled archaeologists for decades. A cluster of towering, human-like stone pillars standing in defiance of the desert's harsh winds and shifting sands. The site, known as Al-Rajajil, meaning the pillars in Arabic, is located near the town of Taima, about 200 kilometers from the Red Sea. These massive stone structures, some of which rise over 2 meters in height, are arranged in distinct groups, scattered across the desert floor. They resemble nothing that can be easily attributed to any known civilization from the region. The pillars are far older than any Islamic or even Roman influence in the area, with dating placing them around 3,000 to 4,000 years old, during a time when the Arabian Peninsula was not yet inhabited by the people we know today. But who built them? And why? From a distance, the pillars appear to be monumental stone sculptures, each seemingly sculpted to represent the human form. They possess the unmistakable resemblance to human figures, their broad rectangular bodies tapering upward in an abstract representation of a person. However, unlike the monumental statues of ancient cultures like Egypt or Mesopotamia, these stones lack intricate facial features or details. They are unadorned and crude in comparison. Yet it is their simplicity and uniformity that make them so captivating, suggesting a deliberate and methodical design that raises questions about their creator's intentions. The mystery surrounding Al-Rajajil is compounded by its isolated location. Situated in a desolate area with no evidence of a nearby settlement, the site stands alone in stark contrast to the bustling trade routes and thriving cultures that existed in nearby regions at the time. Why were these figures erected in such a remote location, seemingly far from any major centers of population or civilization? Were these pillars markers for something, an ancient boundary, a sacred site, or perhaps a monumental graveyard? Archaeologists have speculated on the purpose of these mysterious stone figures, but no definitive explanation has been found. Some believe the site may have served a ceremonial or religious function. The pillars, arranged in orderly rows, might have been part of a ritualistic practice, perhaps related to ancestor worship or the veneration of deities. Could they have been part of a cultic or spiritual landscape, where people would gather to honor their gods or celebrate important celestial events? The alignment of the pillars with the movement of the sun, as seen from certain angles, has led some researchers to suggest that they were used in astronomical observations, much like the megalithic monuments of Europe. Others have proposed that Al-Rajajil may have been a marker for trade or territorial boundaries. The site's location along ancient trade routes, while not immediately obvious, has led some scholars to speculate that it could have been a landmark for nomadic tribes, marking the entrance to a sacred area or a location of particular significance. The uniformity of the pillars, their placement in neat rows, might suggest they were designed to guide travelers or demarcate a space set apart from the mundane world. In such a harsh, arid environment, a site such as this would undoubtedly stand out, helping to guide those who passed through the region. But perhaps the most perplexing theory revolves around the possibility that the pillars may have been linked to an ancient form of worship or ritual that we can only guess at today. Many of the surrounding stone structures bear resemblances to other religious or ritual sites found in the broader region, including ancient shrines and temples dedicated to a variety of gods. It's possible that the pillars at Al-Rajajil were part of a forgotten belief system, one that has since disappeared from memory, lost to time and the sands of the desert. Could these stones represent the embodiment of spirits or gods, placed in a sacred alignment to form a connection between the living and the divine? Despite the many theories that abound, there is little concrete evidence to suggest which, if any, of these ideas is correct. The lack of written records or inscriptions at the site only adds to the mystery. Unlike other ancient sites, such as those in Egypt or Mesopotamia, where hieroglyphics or cuneiform tablets provide clues to the civilization's culture and beliefs, Al-Rajajil remains silent. The absence of carvings, inscriptions, or any form of direct evidence means that we are left to interpret the meaning of the site based solely on the physical features of the pillars themselves. The stones stand as mute witnesses to an ancient time, offering few answers but many questions. One of the most intriguing aspects of Al-Rajajil is the uniformity of the stone figures. Unlike other ancient sites where variations in size and shape might indicate different classes of people or gods, the pillars at Al-Rajajil are remarkably consistent. All of them share a similar form, rectangular, tapered, and simple. This raises the question of whether these pillars were intended to represent a particular social class or group, perhaps the ancestors of those who built the site. Could these stones be markers for specific individuals, or were they designed to represent a collective identity, one that transcended individual differences? Another mystery lies in the materials used to create the pillars. The stones themselves are made of sandstone, a material that is abundant in the region. However, the way they have been shaped and positioned suggests a level of skill and effort that goes beyond what might be expected from simple nomadic tribes. Who had the knowledge and resources to create such a site? And what technologies did they use to transport and position these massive stones in such precise formations? It's clear that whoever built Al-Rajajil possessed a deep understanding of stoneworking and engineering, but the exact techniques remain a mystery. Could these people have had access to lost technologies, or was the construction of Al-Rajajil the result of centuries of refinement passed down through generations? Furthermore, the alignment of the pillars with the sun's movements suggests that the builders of Al-Rajajil were keenly aware of celestial cycles, perhaps even more so than the societies of the surrounding areas. Could this site have been used to track important astrological events, or to mark the passage of seasons, much like the stone circles and other megalithic sites found in Europe? The idea that Al-Rajajil could have functioned as an astronomical observatory, where the pillars aligned with certain celestial events, adds another layer of complexity to the site's purpose. As we stand before the silent pillars of Al-Rajajil, we are left to wonder what they truly represent. Are they markers of a forgotten civilization whose beliefs and practices have been lost to time? Do they represent gods or ancestors? Or are they the remnants of a ritualistic tradition that was once widespread across the Arabian Peninsula? The unanswered questions only deepen the mystery of Al-Rajajil. The site offers us a glimpse into a time long past, but the full story remains locked away in the desert sands. Perhaps one day, more evidence will be uncovered to shed light on the truth behind these towering stone figures. Until then, we are left to wonder, what ancient knowledge or beliefs are contained within the stones of Al-Rajajil, and what mysteries still remain hidden beneath the sands of time? As we journey further back in time, we arrive at a mysterious landscape, one that whispers of forgotten rituals, ancient practices, and a civilization long buried beneath the dust of history. Nestled in the rugged, windswept hills of the Galilee region in northern Palestine, the Dolmen of Roknia stands as a solitary sentinel, guarding the secrets of a world that has since vanished. This enigmatic megalithic structure, one of the most impressive dolmens found in the region, is a testament to the ingenuity and beliefs of the people who built it more than 4,000 years ago. The Dolmen of Roknia is part of a larger group of dolmens scattered across the rocky hillsides of northern Palestine and southern Syria, but what sets this particular dolmen apart is its size and condition. The massive stone structure, crafted from enormous slabs of rock, is a type of burial monument known as a portal tomb, or chambered tomb. The dolmen consists of several large upright stones that form a chamber, with a massive capstone resting atop them, creating a roof over the burial space below. The site is almost otherworldly in its simplicity and grandeur, an ancient tomb that speaks to a sophisticated understanding of both the natural world and the human need for memorialization. From a distance, the dolmen seems to rise from the earth like a fossilized creature, frozen in time. Its stones, weathered by millennia of wind and rain, have an almost otherworldly presence, as if they are guardians of something that has been long forgotten. The shape of the dolmen is strikingly geometric, with the stones arranged in an almost perfect rectangle, a stark contrast to the irregularity of the surrounding landscape. It's as if this site, in its prime, was meant to stand apart from nature, a man-made monument designed to catch the eye and draw the gaze of those who passed by. Despite its prominence, the true purpose of the Dolmen of Roknia remains shrouded in mystery. Archaeologists have long known that dolmens were used as burial sites, and many have been discovered in regions spanning from the British Isles to the Mediterranean. Yet, the exact reasons why ancient peoples chose to build such elaborate structures for their dead, and why they often constructed them in such isolated locations, remain unclear. Roknia is no exception. Though it is widely accepted that dolmens were used for funerary purposes, the details surrounding the rituals that took place here and the people who constructed the dolmen remain elusive. What is immediately clear is the level of effort that went into building the Dolmen of Roknia. The stones, some weighing several tons, would have had to be quarried, transported, and precisely placed to form the structure. The sheer scale of the dolmen suggests a society capable of organizing labor on a grand scale, with an understanding of engineering that was advanced for its time. But how were these massive stones moved, especially in an era without the wheel or the technology we take for granted today? And why this particular location, remote and seemingly inaccessible, yet chosen for its dramatic presence? There are several theories regarding the purpose of Roknia and similar dolmens. Many scholars believe that these tombs were not just for the dead, but also served as a focal point for the living. Perhaps the dolmen was a place where families would gather to honor their ancestors, a ritual space where the living could commune with the spirits of their forebears. The alignment of the dolmen with the surrounding landscape hints at a deep connection between the structure and the celestial movements. Did the builders of Roknia choose this site based on the stars, aligning it with the rising or setting of key celestial bodies? Was this an ancient observatory, where the dead were honored through the observation of the heavens? The orientation of dolmens often raises questions about their connection to astronomy and the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. Some dolmens are carefully aligned to catch the light of the solstices or equinoxes, while others seem to have been placed in relation to significant astronomical events. At Roknia, however, the alignment is more subtle. The entrance to the dolmen faces a particular direction that may have been significant to the builders, but without written records, it's impossible to say with certainty what it was meant to represent. Could it have been aligned with the rising sun on the day of a major solar event, like a solstice? Or was the structure built to honor a particular star or constellation that held spiritual significance for the people who constructed it? Some researchers have speculated that the Dolmen of Roknia could have been a site of ritual offerings, where the living left gifts for the deceased or performed sacrifices. The large flat capstone that rests atop the structure might have once been a surface for offerings, now long gone. It's possible that the dolmen was part of a wider network of sacred sites, where similar monuments were scattered across the region, each representing a connection between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. Were these dolmens simply a resting place for the deceased, or did they hold deeper cosmological and spiritual meaning, perhaps as a bridge between this world and the next? Adding to the intrigue is the peculiar lack of evidence for the identity of the people who built the dolmen. While we know that the dolmen was likely constructed by a Neolithic or early Bronze Age community, little is known about the culture that created it. Were they early Semitic tribes? Or were they a more mysterious people, perhaps a precursor to the civilizations that would later rise in the Levant? Some suggest that the builders of Roknia were part of a larger cultural network that spread across the ancient Near East. The dolmen's design bears similarities to other ancient tombs found in the region, including those in Mesopotamia and Anatolia, suggesting that there may have been shared religious or cultural practices across vast distances. Could Roknia have been one of many monuments built by a lost civilization whose influence reached far beyond what we can currently trace? Moreover, the absence of any discernible inscriptions or carvings at the site only adds to its enigmatic nature. Unlike other ancient sites in the region, Roknia does not bear any written records or artistic depictions that might provide insights into the beliefs of the people who built it. In many ways, it stands as a silent witness to a culture that has left few traces behind, save for the stone structure itself. Without inscriptions, we are left to speculate on the meaning of the monument based on its physical form and alignment, but the true significance may be lost forever to time. As the years pass and the elements continue to weather the stones of Roknia, it remains a powerful symbol of the enduring mysteries of the ancient world. Its purpose, the identity of its builders, and the rituals performed here may never be fully understood. But it is precisely this uncertainty that fuels the ongoing intrigue surrounding the dolmen. What ancient knowledge or beliefs were contained within this structure? What were the builders trying to communicate with this imposing stone monument? The Dolmen of Roknia continues to stand alone in the wilderness, offering us only fragments of a story that is, at best, partially revealed. Perhaps future excavations will uncover more clues, or perhaps the answers lie not in the stones themselves, but in the shifting sands of history, waiting to be unearthed. For now, Roknia remains an enigma, its silence speaking volumes, its secrets guarded by the timeless desert winds. The mystery of who built it and why continues to haunt the modern mind, leaving us to wonder just how much of the past we have yet to uncover. As we shift our focus from the enigmatic dolmens and monumental stone structures of ancient civilizations, we journey northward across the windswept hills and barren moors of Scotland. Here, on the island of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides, lies a place that, while overlooked by many, holds within it a fascinating and puzzling mystery that continues to stir debate among archaeologists. Dun Carloway, a remarkably well-preserved Iron Age broch, stands as a silent sentinel against the passage of time, a relic of a long-lost civilization that seems to stretch beyond the understanding of modern science. At first glance, Dun Carloway might appear as little more than a crumbling stone tower, its walls partially eroded by centuries of wind, rain, and salt. Yet, this deceptively simple structure is far more complex than it initially seems. Towering above the surrounding landscape, Dun Carloway is a broch, a unique type of stone-built structure that dates back to the first millennium BC. These ancient fortresses, found primarily in Scotland, are characterized by their circular design, thick stone walls, and a distinctive two-wall construction that encloses a narrow corridor. The brochs were built by the Celts, or their predecessors, during a time when the region was a mosaic of tribal groups and shifting alliances. Standing atop the hill where Dun Carloway rests, one can see the full scale of the structure. The broch once stood nearly 10 meters tall, dominating the surrounding area with its commanding presence. It is surrounded by a ring of stone walls, and although much of its original height has been lost, the broch's distinctive double-wall construction is still clearly visible. The outer wall, built with large, roughly hewn stones, is still remarkably well preserved, though erosion has taken its toll. Inside, the faint outline of a stairwell and narrow passageways can still be discerned, hinting at the intricacies of its design. These structures were not simply fortifications. They were also homes, communal spaces, and possibly even places of ritual. The Dun Carloway broch is remarkable not only for its size and construction, but also for the sheer mystery that surrounds its purpose. Archaeologists have long debated what these structures were used for. The most widely accepted theory is that brochs were defensive strongholds, built to protect their inhabitants from raiders or rival tribes. The thick walls and elevated positioning of brochs would have provided strategic advantages, allowing those inside to survey the surrounding land while remaining well protected from attackers. However, this explanation doesn't fully account for the intricate design of these structures or the specific purpose of the internal spaces within the broch itself. Dun Carloway, in particular, stands out due to the complexity of its construction and its apparent lack of direct evidence for large-scale battles or defensive actions in the immediate vicinity. Was the broch merely a fortress, or did it serve a more complex role in the society that built it? Some researchers have suggested that brochs were symbols of power and prestige, built by chieftains or elites to demonstrate their wealth and authority. The complexity of Dun Carloway's design, combined with its location, suggests that it was not merely a utilitarian building, but a statement of the power of those who constructed it. Could these structures have had a ceremonial or ritual purpose as well? Given the isolation of the island of Lewis and the prominence of Dun Carloway in the landscape, could this broch have been a place for gatherings, feasts, or rites that celebrated the cycles of the seasons or honored deities? As we examine the remains of the broch, we are struck by one feature that remains absent: the lack of extensive artifacts. Unlike other archaeological sites of similar periods, Dun Carloway has yielded relatively few objects. While some pottery and small tools have been uncovered, they are sparse in comparison to other Iron Age sites. This raises questions about the lifestyle of the people who lived here. Were they a small, isolated community that left little trace behind? Or was Dun Carloway part of a larger network of settlements, whose material culture has simply been lost to time? Even more curious are the unanswered questions surrounding the function of the interior spaces. The broch's design, its two-walled construction, and the narrow, steep staircase leading to the upper levels suggests that the structure was intended for a specific purpose beyond simple habitation. But what exactly that purpose was is still unclear. Was the upper level used for living quarters, storage, or perhaps even for ritual activities? The lack of substantial remains of domestic life inside the broch only adds to the mystery. Could it have served as a communal gathering space where leaders would address their people, or perhaps as a place of spiritual significance where rites were performed in the shadows of the towering walls? Despite centuries of study, the original inhabitants of Dun Carloway remain a mystery. The broch's location, in the far reaches of the Scottish Highlands, suggests that its builders were part of a society that had contact with the wider Celtic world, but there is little evidence to point to the specific cultural or tribal identity of those who lived here. Were they early Celts, or were they part of an even older indigenous population that predated the arrival of the Celts in the British Isles? There are theories that suggest the people of Carloway may have been a part of a much broader cultural network stretching across the northern seas, possibly even trading with groups in Scandinavia or northern Europe. The sheer scale and complexity of the Broch suggest a level of social organization and cultural sophistication that goes beyond what we might expect from a typical Iron Age settlement. One of the most intriguing aspects of Carloway is the complete lack of written records about its purpose or its builders. Unlike ancient civilizations in the Mediterranean, where written texts, inscriptions, or monumental art provide clues to the past, Carloway leaves only the stones to speak for it. In this sense, it is a silent monument to a people whose voices have been lost to history. Could it be that there was more to the Broch than we can understand with our current knowledge? Could the lack of artifacts and written records suggest that its builders intentionally obscured their purpose, perhaps as a way to keep the secrets of their culture hidden from future generations? Moreover, there is the question of why the Broch was abandoned. By the time the Romans had begun to make their way across Britain, Carloway was already no longer in use. The reasons for its abandonment remain speculative, but some have suggested that it was due to changing social, political, or environmental factors. Was the Broch abandoned as a defensive structure because the need for such fortifications had diminished, or did the people of Carloway simply move on to new lands, leaving their home to be claimed by the elements? The Broch also presents a curious puzzle when viewed in the broader context of ancient structures. Though Brochs are unique to Scotland and parts of northern Britain, they share certain architectural characteristics with other ancient fortifications found across Europe. The circular design, the focus on strong, thick walls, and the use of massive stones for construction can be found in other megalithic sites, from the Mediterranean to the far north of Scandinavia. Was the construction of Carloway influenced by distant peoples, or was it a manifestation of a widespread architectural tradition that spread across the ancient world? And if so, what does that say about the interconnections between ancient societies, their shared knowledge, and their exchange of ideas? Standing at the base of Carloway, it's impossible not to be struck by its sheer presence, an imposing structure that has withstood the test of time, the elements, and the erosion of centuries. It serves as a reminder of the complexities of ancient cultures and the mysteries that still remain hidden beneath the earth and stone. As we look at the remnants of the Broch, we can only wonder about the lives of the people who built it. What did they believe? How did they live? And why, after all these centuries, does Carloway still stand, quietly waiting for us to unlock its secrets? With every unanswered question, the mystery of Carloway grows deeper, inviting us to imagine a past that is rich with untold stories, stories that, like the Broch itself, may never be fully uncovered. As we continue to explore the world's unexplained archaeological discoveries, we must ask, how many more structures like Carloway exist, hidden away in the forgotten corners of the earth, their secrets waiting for the day when we might finally unravel them? As we continue our journey through the ancient ruins scattered across the globe, we turn our attention to a lesser-known but equally compelling site, Talatí de Dalt. Located on the island of Menorca, in the Balearic archipelago of Spain, Talatí de Dalt is a place that whispers of a long-lost civilization, a people whose story is intertwined with the mysterious prehistoric structures they left behind. This site, like so many others in the Mediterranean, challenges our understanding of early human society, and as we walk among its stones, we find ourselves contemplating a deeper mystery. The landscape here is striking, with the wild, rugged terrain of Menorca meeting the distant horizon where the sea and sky seem to merge into an eternal expanse. The wind sweeps across the island, carrying with it the scent of the ocean and the weight of history. And amid this evocative landscape lies Talatí de Dalt, a Talaitic settlement that dates back to the early centuries of the first millennium BC. Though much of its original structure has been lost to time, the remnants of this ancient site still stand as silent witnesses to a long-forgotten world. The name Talatí de Dalt refers to the settlement's location at the top of a hill and its taliotic nature, named after the distinctive stone towers or taliotes that dot the island, gives us the first clue to the enigma that lies here. These towering structures, built with massive stones, are a hallmark of the Taliotic culture, a prehistoric society that inhabited the Balearic Islands during the Late Bronze Age and Early Iron Age. The taliotes themselves are striking in their design. Round, monumental stone structures, some with domed roofs, others with large circular chambers. These edifices were likely used as watchtowers or communal spaces, and some may have served as places of ritual significance. As we wander through the ruins of Talatí de Dalt, we are immediately struck by the site's unusual design. The central feature of the settlement is the large taliote, a type of tower that rises from the earth like a silent sentinel, its purpose still shrouded in mystery. Surrounding this central structure are smaller buildings, scattered walls, and the remains of what may have been houses or storage spaces. Though much of the site is in ruins, it is still possible to make out the outlines of the complex. What's most remarkable about Talatí de Dalt, however, is not the size of its structures, but the questions that arise from its layout. The presence of the taliote suggests that Talatí de Dalt was a defensive settlement, designed to provide a vantage point over the surrounding land and sea. From the top of the tower, those within could likely spot potential invaders or rival tribes long before they arrived. But while this function seems plausible, the true purpose of the taliotes is still debated. Were they mere fortifications, or did they serve a more complex role? Some have suggested that the taliotes were also ceremonial structures, possibly linked to religious practices. Could these towering stone circles have been used for rituals, perhaps related to the cycles of the seasons or the worship of a specific deity? Equally enigmatic are the smaller, less imposing buildings scattered across the site. Some resemble traditional dwellings, while others appear to be open courtyards or public spaces. The arrangement of these structures is anything but random, and their purpose remains elusive. Were these spaces used for communal gatherings, or were they part of a broader social structure that we can no longer fully comprehend? There is little concrete evidence to explain the exact function of the buildings at Talatí de Dalt, leaving room for speculation and intrigue. One of the most puzzling features of the site is its apparent lack of written records or direct evidence regarding the identity of its inhabitants. Who were the people that built Talatí de Dalt? The Taliotic culture is thought to have been indigenous to the Balearic Islands, but little is known about their social structure, their language, or their belief systems. The inhabitants of Talatí de Dalt may have been part of a broader network of communities spread across the Mediterranean, engaged in trade and cultural exchange. But their isolation on Minorca, coupled with the absence of written records, means that much of their history remains a mystery. Despite extensive excavation, only fragments of artifacts have been discovered at Talatí de Dalt. Some pottery shards, tools, and remnants of animal bones have been found, but they provide little insight into the daily life of the people who lived here. What did they eat? What did their homes look like inside? What were their social and religious practices? These questions remain unanswered, and without further discoveries, we may never know the full extent of the Taliotic people's way of life. But it's not just the material remains that spark curiosity. There's something about the site's very layout that evokes a deeper, more philosophical question. The taliotes, with their monumental stones, stand as symbols of an ancient people who clearly possessed a level of engineering and organizational skill that we often associate with more advanced cultures. How did these people, living in relative isolation, manage to construct such imposing structures? The sheer scale and complexity of these buildings suggest a society that had mastered the use of stone and was capable of organizing large-scale construction projects. Were these people influenced by cultures from the Mediterranean mainland, or did they develop their techniques independently? And what might we be missing in our understanding of how these structures were used? Some researchers have suggested that the inhabitants of Talatí de Dalt may have had an esoteric or spiritual relationship with the landscape itself, possibly viewing the natural world around them as imbued with divine significance. Could the alignment of the Talayots have been intended to mark specific celestial events, such as solstices or equinoxes? Many ancient cultures built their sacred structures in alignment with the stars or the sun's movement across the sky, and the layout of Talatí de Dalt may hold clues to similar practices. But without direct evidence, this remains an open question. Another theory that has emerged is the possibility that the settlement was connected to trade routes or maritime networks. The Balearic Islands were strategically located in the heart of the Mediterranean, a crossroads for cultures stretching from North Africa to the Greek world. Could the people of Talatí de Dalt have been part of this larger network, exchanging goods, ideas, and technologies with distant civilizations? While there is little archaeological evidence to support this hypothesis, the very existence of these monumental structures suggests that the Talayotic people may have had a complex and far-reaching society that we are only beginning to understand. As we stand before the Talayots at Talatí de Dalt, it is impossible not to be filled with a sense of wonder. These stone structures have withstood the ravages of time, yet their purpose and the identity of their builders remain elusive. The questions they raise about ancient human societies, about their architecture, their spiritual beliefs, and their relationships with the natural world, continue to stir our imagination. What secrets are still buried beneath the earth here, waiting to be uncovered? Could further excavations one day reveal answers to the mysteries of Talatí de Dalt? And perhaps most intriguingly, are there other similar sites scattered across the Mediterranean whose stories have yet to be told? For now, Talatí de Dalt remains a silent testament to an ancient people whose legacy may one day come into sharper focus. But for the time being, the mystery continues, drawing us in with its quiet, timeless presence. As we transition from one enigmatic site to the next, we find ourselves drawn to a place where the ancient world meets the untold mysteries of the past, a place where the raw power of nature and human ingenuity have combined to create something deeply perplexing. This is Dwarfie Stane, a site that sits in the windswept isolation of Hoy, one of the Orkney Islands in the far north of Scotland. Dwarfie Stane, a massive, solitary block of sandstone, holds a peculiar place in the annals of archaeology. Unlike many other megalithic monuments, its story does not lie in its grandeur, but in its simplicity. And yet within that simplicity, there lies a complexity that defies easy explanation. At first glance, Dwarfie Stane might seem like just another weathered rock in an otherwise bleak landscape. But look closer, and a deeper mystery begins to emerge. This stone is not a mere geological formation. It has been carved, hollowed out, and shaped by human hands. But why? The site itself is remarkable not only for its isolation, but for the sheer fact that it stands alone. Unlike other megalithic sites in the British Isles, Dwarfie Stane is not part of a larger complex or alignment. It exists in a remote and desolate landscape where little else of comparable antiquity can be found. The stone is a massive, upright block, measuring about 8 feet in height and weighing several tons. But what truly sets it apart from other natural outcrops is what lies within. Carved into the stone is a chamber, a space that seems almost too refined for its ancient origins. The chamber inside Dwarfie Stane is small, measuring only about 4 feet by 4 feet. Yet its walls are meticulously smoothed, and 2 small alcoves are cut into the interior. The precision of the carving, especially in such an isolated location, raises immediate questions. Who could have undertaken such a task? What was the purpose of this small, hidden space carved into a single stone? And perhaps most importantly, why would anyone go through the trouble of creating such a structure, buried deep within the rock, in a place so far removed from the centers of civilization at the time? Theories about Dwarfie Stane abound, yet none offer definitive answers. Archaeologists typically classify the site as a Neolithic tomb or chambered cairn, a burial place for ancient peoples. Such tombs were not unusual in the British Isles, and the method of construction, hollowing out a massive stone to create a space for interment, was a known practice. However, this theory only takes us so far, as no human remains have ever been found inside the chamber at Dwarfie Stane. Could it have been a tomb, only to have been disturbed or never used for its intended purpose? Adding another layer to the mystery is the stone's peculiar name, Dwarfie Stane. The term dwarf immediately evokes myths and folklore, and local legends about the stone are rich with storytelling. One such tale claims that the stone was a home for a dwarf or some other supernatural being, perhaps even a deity or spirit of the land. This connection to the supernatural realm raises further questions. Could Dwarfie Stane have served a ceremonial or ritualistic purpose? Could it have been a place of power, where ancient people went to commune with the unseen forces they believed inhabited the world around them? Despite its potential connection to burial practices, there are those who suggest that the chamber may not have been a tomb at all. Some alternative theories propose that the stone's hollowed-out interior was used for some form of ancient ritual, a place where offerings were made or rites performed in honor of a forgotten god. The placement of the stone itself, on the windswept island of Hoy, seems to suggest a connection to the elements, wind, sky, and sea, as if the location itself was chosen for its powerful and dramatic setting. Could this stone have been used in ceremonies linked to celestial events, like the solstice or equinox? Could the chamber have been a place where individuals went to seek spiritual guidance, possibly in a trance-like state? The stone's isolation further complicates its history. Hoy is one of the more remote islands in the Orkneys, and the area around Dwarfie Stane is rugged and sparsely inhabited. What drew ancient peoples to this desolate place to carve a monument into a single monumental stone? The site is not on any prominent trade route, nor does it appear to have been a major settlement. So why this rock? Why here, and why now, when the people of the Neolithic and Bronze Ages had much larger, more elaborate structures to create and maintain? Was it a site of ancient pilgrimage or a hidden sanctuary known only to a select few? The isolation of Dwarfie Stane lends itself to yet another theory, that the site may have served a more secretive or exclusive function. Some believe that the stone could have been used by a specific group of people, possibly a priestly class or a secluded religious sect, who were practicing rites that they wished to keep from the general public. Was this a place reserved for ritual initiations, esoteric knowledge, or even secretive rites that remain unknown to us? Could the site have been part of a broader network of hidden sacred locations, each with its own specific purpose, known only to those who were allowed entry? The architectural precision of the carved stone, its smooth, rounded surfaces, the small, carefully cut alcoves, raises yet another intriguing possibility. Could this be evidence of a lost technology, a forgotten art of stonework that was far more advanced than we give ancient people credit for? Were the builders of Dwarfie Stane capable of carving stone with an accuracy that would challenge even some of our modern methods? Or is there a simpler explanation, that this was just a highly skilled, albeit singular effort by a group of people who knew how to work with the materials available to them? The absence of significant artifacts at the site complicates the story even further. Unlike other prehistoric monuments, Dwarfie Stane has yielded few tools, pottery, or other cultural remnants. This lack of material evidence has left archaeologists and researchers to speculate about the stone's significance based solely on its construction and location. Is this a deliberate choice to keep the site pristine and untainted by everyday life? Or does it suggest that the stone was so remote and used by so few that there was simply no need for the artifacts we typically associate with archaeological sites? In recent years, Dwarfie Stane has become a subject of both fascination and frustration for researchers. Despite its apparent simplicity, it raises profound questions about the capabilities of ancient peoples and the rituals they may have practiced. Whether it was a tomb, a place of worship, or a site for some other unknown purpose, Dwarfie Stane remains an enduring symbol of humanity's capacity to shape the natural world into something that carries meaning far beyond its physical form. So, what do we truly know about Dwarfie Stane? We know that it stands alone, carved from the stone of the earth, untouched by time in its isolated location. We know that its chamber, hidden within the stone, offers no clear answers. And we know that it continues to intrigue, pulling us into its mystery, inviting us to ask questions that may never be fully answered. The site leaves us with one undeniable truth. The past is not always as easily understood as we might wish it to be. And for every stone we turn, for every ancient monument we unearth, there are countless others whose stories remain obscured by time, weather, and the shifting tides of history. Could Dwarfie Stane ever reveal its secrets? Or will it continue to stand, as it has for millennia, a silent sentinel of the ancient world, waiting for us to understand the truths it has kept hidden all this time? In the remote reaches of Brittany, tucked away on the northern coast of France, lies a monument whose scale and age defy easy categorization. The Cairn of Barnenez, a massive Neolithic burial mound, stands as an enigmatic testament to the ancient people who built it over 6,000 years ago. To approach Barnenez is to step into a world far removed from modernity, a place where the silence of the past weighs heavily, broken only by the sounds of the wind and the distant crash of waves against the rocky shore. The Cairn of Barnenez isn't just a burial mound. It's a colossal structure that seems to possess an intelligence, an understanding of space and time that we are only beginning to fathom. Stretching across an area of nearly 75 meters in length and reaching a height of 8 meters, the Cairn of Barnenez is one of the largest and oldest megalithic monuments in Europe. But what is it really? At first glance, the structure might seem like any other ancient tomb or burial mound, built to honor the dead. However, Barnenez's sheer size and the complexity of its design force us to reconsider this conventional interpretation. With its series of passageways, chambers, and intricately arranged stone slabs, the cairn suggests not just a simple burial site, but a place of profound spiritual or cultural significance. Built by the people of the late Neolithic period, around 4,500 BC, the Cairn of Barnenez consists of two main sections, each containing a series of chambers. These chambers, lined with carefully cut stones, are so meticulously crafted that it is hard to imagine the tools and knowledge needed to shape and transport the massive slabs. Within these chambers, archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of evidence, including animal bones, pottery fragments, and even human remains, offering a glimpse into the funerary practices of the time. Yet, despite the archaeological findings, one fact remains elusive: the true purpose of the cairn. Is it, as many suggest, a simple burial monument for the elite members of an ancient society? The chambers inside the cairn do contain human remains, but not in any uniform arrangement. Some bodies are placed with great care, others seem to be left in disarray. Some graves contain large quantities of pottery and artifacts, suggesting offerings or perhaps rituals, while others are starkly minimal. This inconsistency leads to questions about the nature of the people buried there. Were they royalty, priests, or commoners? Or were they something entirely different, figures with a power or status that we are unable to comprehend with our modern understanding of social structures? Another mystery arises when we consider the architectural features of the cairn. The precision with which the stones were cut and the complexity of the passageways are nothing short of extraordinary. The construction techniques employed in the Cairn of Barnenez are strikingly advanced for its time, raising the possibility that the builders possessed knowledge and skills far beyond what we would expect for a Neolithic society. The way the stones are arranged, almost in a precise, interlocking fashion, suggests a deep understanding of engineering principles, an understanding that seems to have been lost until much later in human history. Could the people who built Barnenez have been working with forgotten knowledge, passed down from an even older civilization? Or was the cairn simply a feat of ingenuity built by a society whose technological advancements we have yet to fully comprehend? What makes Barnenez even more mysterious is the fact that it seems to have served multiple functions throughout its history. Over the millennia, the cairn was altered, expanded, and repurposed. Evidence suggests that during the Middle Ages, the monument was used as a Christian chapel, adding a layer of complexity to its already rich history. The Christian symbols found within the cairn's chambers provide a stark contrast to the pagan imagery of the earlier Neolithic period. It seems as though Barnenez was not just a tomb or a monument. It was a place of continuous transformation, a location that held different meanings for different cultures across time. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the Cairn of Barnenez is the possible connection to the broader megalithic culture that flourished throughout Europe during the Neolithic period. It shares similarities with other megalithic structures, such as the passage tombs of Ireland and the stone circles of Britain, but Barnenez's sheer scale and architectural intricacy make it a unique example of Neolithic engineering. Did the people who built Barnenez have connections with other ancient civilizations? Could this site have been part of a larger, pan-European network of sacred or ceremonial locations that spanned the continent, serving as a nexus for trade, cultural exchange, or spiritual practice? Some archaeologists have speculated that the cairn may have had an astronomical function. The alignment of the chambers within Barnenez seems to follow a certain pattern that could correspond with celestial events, such as the rising and setting of the sun during solstices or equinoxes. Could the cairn have been designed not just as a burial site, but as a place where the movements of the heavens were observed and recorded? Was this an early example of a solar calendar used to mark the passage of time and track the changing seasons? Adding to the mystery of Barnenez is the local legend surrounding the site. The name Barnenez itself is derived from the Breton word for stone pile, but some local folklore suggests that the cairn was originally constructed by giants, or even supernatural beings, who possessed knowledge far beyond that of ordinary humans. Could these ancient myths be based on some kernel of truth? Could the builders of Barnenez have been part of a lost culture, one whose knowledge and understanding of the world was so advanced that it has been relegated to the realm of myth? As we try to piece together the history of the Cairn of Barnenez, we are confronted with more questions than answers. Why was it built with such precision? Who were the people who constructed it, and what did they believe? Was the cairn merely a burial site, or did it serve other functions, ritual, astronomical, or even symbolic? The more we explore, the more we realize how little we truly understand about the people who lived here, and what they were trying to convey through their monumental creations. Barnenez stands as a silent witness to the passage of time, its massive stones enduring through the centuries, weathered by the elements, but still resolutely standing. Each chamber, each carefully placed stone, seems to whisper secrets from the past, secrets that, despite our best efforts, remain out of reach. And as we look at this imposing structure, we are left with one haunting question. What truths does the Cairn of Barnenez still hold, hidden beneath its ancient stones? What mysteries remain locked within the walls of this extraordinary monument, waiting for the right eyes to uncover them? Perhaps the answers are out there, in the forgotten corners of history, or perhaps they are buried too deep for us to ever fully understand. Only time will tell. As we continue to journey through some of the most profound mysteries of the ancient world, we find ourselves at an extraordinary site, high in the Andean mountains of Peru, where the towering ruins of Sillustani rise from the rugged terrain. Known for its enigmatic Chullpas, circular tower-like structures made from precisely cut stone, Sillustani has intrigued archaeologists, historians, and visitors alike for centuries. These strange monuments, some as tall as 12 meters, are unlike anything else in the region, raising questions about their true purpose, the people who built them, and the remarkable techniques they employed. The site feels timeless, a bridge between past and present, with a haunting silence that resonates beneath the vast skies. The Chullpas of Sillustani are not merely tombs, as many initially believed. Though they were certainly used as burial sites for the elite members of the ancient Kola civilization, the precision and scale of the structures suggest a much deeper significance. The site's construction, which began around 1200 BC, offers few answers and many more questions. How did these ancient people cut and fit massive stone slabs so perfectly without the advanced tools we take for granted today? Why did they choose to build these vertical, cylindrical tombs, standing tall against the backdrop of the Andes, when more traditional burial practices existed elsewhere? And what knowledge did they possess that we are only now beginning to uncover? Sillustani's Chullpas are distinct in their sheer scale and craftsmanship. Each tower was carefully constructed using large stones, fit together with remarkable precision. What is most striking, however, is the way the stones are cut. Many are shaped with near-perfect edges, suggesting an advanced understanding of stonework that would have been difficult to achieve with the primitive tools available at the time. Some of the stones used in the Chullpas weigh several tons, yet they fit so tightly together that not even a knife blade could slip through the seams. How did the builders of Sillustani manage such feats of engineering, long before the advent of the wheel or complex machinery? One of the most intriguing features of the site is the size and positioning of the Chullpas. The tombs are arranged in a semicircle, each one towering over the others. The largest, often called the Royal Chullpa, stands head and shoulders above the rest, its height and size suggesting that it once belonged to someone of great importance. Some speculate that these burial sites were not just places for the dead, but ceremonial spaces as well. Could the Chullpas have been aligned with celestial events, like solstices or equinoxes? The placement of the tombs, in relation to the surrounding landscape and the distant mountains, seems deliberate, as if the builders were intentionally connecting the dead to the natural world around them. Inside the Chullpas, the remnants of ancient burial practices have been uncovered. Archaeologists have found skeletal remains, ceramics, and gold ornaments, indicating that the tombs were used for high-status burials. However, there are inconsistencies in the burial practices that raise more questions than answers. Some bodies were placed within the tombs with offerings and artifacts, while others appear to have been hastily interred, their graves marked with little more than a stone slab. Could this disparity indicate a change in the way the Kola people viewed death and the afterlife over time? Or was there something more mysterious at play, perhaps different cultural or spiritual beliefs that we can only guess at today? What is even more striking is the way the Chullpas are constructed. Unlike many other burial structures in the Andes, Sillustani's tombs feature a unique design. They are circular, not square or rectangular, and their tapered shape creates an almost otherworldly silhouette against the mountains. The question arises, why this specific design? Was there symbolic meaning behind the circular shape, perhaps relating to cycles of life, death, and rebirth? Or was the shape purely practical, meant to enhance the structural integrity of the tombs? Some have suggested that the circular design could have been influenced by astronomical alignments, but no definitive explanation has been found. Adding to the mystery is the fact that the Chullpas at Sillustani are thought to have been used for centuries, spanning multiple cultures and dynasties. The site was not only used by the Kola, but also later by the Inca civilization, who expanded upon the original structures. Yet, despite centuries of occupation and use, the purpose of the Chullpas remains unclear. Were these simply royal tombs, a place for the wealthy elite to be buried in grandeur? Or did they have another, more mystical or spiritual function, perhaps as shrines or places of worship where the living could communicate with the dead or the gods? The lack of written records from the time leaves room for speculation, but little concrete evidence. Moreover, the sheer scale of the construction, the precision of the stonework, and the overall design of Sillustani's Chullpas suggest a level of organization and knowledge that would have been difficult to achieve without a highly sophisticated society behind it. It is as if the people of Sillustani had mastered techniques that were far beyond their time, employing tools and methods we have yet to fully understand. How could a society so seemingly isolated in the Andean highlands have developed such advanced architectural techniques? Were they influenced by an outside culture? Or perhaps, as some have speculated, did they possess knowledge that has since been lost to time? In addition to the questions of construction and purpose, Sillustani also sparks curiosity because of its location. Positioned on the edge of Lake Umayo, a large body of water surrounded by mountainous terrain, the site is as breathtaking as it is enigmatic. The surrounding environment is just as much a part of the site's story as the tombs themselves. Was the proximity to the lake intentional? Could the waters have held spiritual significance, symbolizing a passage between life and death? The connection between water and the afterlife is a common theme in many ancient cultures, so it is possible that the builders of Sillustani believed the lake to be a threshold between the realms of the living and the dead. But despite the fascinating nature of the site and the many mysteries surrounding it, the Chullpas at Sillustani remain an enigma. As with so many ancient monuments, we are left to piece together fragments of information, drawing conclusions based on limited evidence and conjecture. The more we learn about Sillustani, the more questions arise. Were the Chullpas solely tombs, or did they serve another, as yet unidentified purpose? What advanced knowledge did the builders of Sillustani possess, and where did it come from? And perhaps most tantalizing of all, what might still lie hidden at the site, buried beneath centuries of history and time? As we continue to explore the mysteries of Sillustani, we are reminded of how much we have yet to discover. Each stone, each structure, each burial presents a piece of the puzzle, but the larger picture remains elusive. For now, Sillustani stands as a monument to the past, an ancient enigma in the shadow of the Andes, waiting for the answers that might still be locked within its stones. And as we reflect on the significance of this ancient site, we are left with the haunting question: what knowledge does Sillustani still hold, and what secrets does it guard from the eyes of modern archaeologists? The answers, it seems, may still be out there, buried beneath the earth, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. As we journey further into the unexplained and the enigmatic, we find ourselves in the rolling, windswept hills of County Donegal, Ireland, where the Creevy Court tomb stands quietly against the backdrop of a wild and timeless landscape. The tomb, with its weathered stones and silent, stoic presence, has captivated archaeologists and visitors alike for centuries. Yet, despite its long history of study and exploration, many of the mysteries surrounding this ancient structure remain unsolved. Creevy is not just any burial site. It is a court tomb, one of several that dot the landscape of Ireland, a relic of the Neolithic period that stretches back to around 4000 BC. This makes it one of the oldest structures on the island, an ancient testament to the complex rituals, beliefs, and social structures of the people who lived here long before recorded history. The tomb itself is made up of a series of large, stone chambers arranged in a roughly rectangular shape with an open courtyard in the center. These chambers are filled with massive stones, some weighing several tons, arranged in precise patterns, forming an architectural style that is unique to this part of the world. Walking up to the tomb, one is immediately struck by its imposing yet oddly serene appearance. The stones, some of them standing upright, others lying in slanted positions, evoke a sense of mystery. It's easy to imagine the rituals that may have taken place here beneath the vast Irish sky, surrounded by the endless hills and the distant sound of the ocean. But what purpose did this tomb serve, and why was it constructed with such care and precision? The court tombs, of which Creevykeel is one of the largest and most intact, are thought to have been used primarily for communal burial rituals. They were constructed as places where the dead could be interred, and where their spirits, it's believed, could be honored by the living. These tombs are typically made up of 3 distinct sections: a central court or open space surrounded by stone chambers that would have housed the remains of the deceased. The stones used in the construction of these tombs are often arranged with an incredible level of precision, and it's clear that their placement was not merely functional, but deeply symbolic. What is particularly intriguing about Creevykeel is the evidence suggesting that this site may have been used for something more than just burial. There are indications that the court tombs, especially those of larger scale like Creevykeel, could have also served as ceremonial sites, where rituals associated with death, rebirth, and perhaps the cycle of the seasons were enacted. The court may have been a space where the living and the dead interacted in a sacred context, where offerings, prayers, and rituals were performed in order to honor ancestors or seek favor from the divine. But there's more to the mystery of Creevykeel than its purpose as a tomb. The construction of the tomb itself offers some perplexing questions. While it is clear that these tombs were built with significant effort and expertise, the methods used to cut, shape, and transport the large stones remain a subject of speculation. The stones, many of which are several tons in weight, would have required an extraordinary level of coordination and labor to move into place. And yet, despite this, no evidence of advanced tools or techniques has been found at Creevykeel to explain how this was accomplished. Could the builders of Creevykeel have possessed knowledge and tools now lost to history, or did they rely on methods that remain unknown to modern archaeologists? Adding to the intrigue is the fact that Creevykeel is part of a larger network of Neolithic sites that stretch across Ireland and into the wider British Isles. The layout of these tombs, and their placement in the landscape, suggests that they were part of a larger, more coordinated system, one that may have had cultural or spiritual significance that we are only beginning to understand. The alignment of the tombs with the landscape, the heavens, and the cycles of the sun and moon suggests that those who built these monuments may have had an advanced knowledge of astronomy and the natural world. In recent years, some archaeologists have speculated that the site may have been part of a more complex belief system, one that involved a deep connection to the Earth and the cosmos. Some have suggested that the tomb's shape and layout may reflect a cosmological design, representing a journey from life to death, or a symbolic connection to the afterlife. The open court at the center of the tomb could represent the threshold between the world of the living and the world of the dead, while the chambers surrounding it might symbolize the containment of souls or the preservation of the dead for some greater purpose. Despite the wealth of research on the site, much of the deeper meaning of Creevykeel remains a mystery. Why did these ancient people invest so much time and energy into building such a monumental structure? Was it solely for funerary purposes, or did the site have a deeper spiritual or cultural significance that we have yet to fully comprehend? What can we learn from the way the tomb is aligned with the land and the sky? Could these ancient builders have been attempting to recreate or embody a greater cosmic order? As we continue to explore the mysteries of Creevykeel and other ancient court tombs, we are reminded that these structures are not just physical remnants of a bygone age. They are clues to a lost worldview. The builders of these tombs were not only creating a place for the dead, they were constructing a bridge between the mortal and divine, between the known and the unknown. And in doing so, they left behind something far more profound than a simple burial site. They left behind a riddle, a puzzle that we are still attempting to piece together. What was the true purpose of Críocha? Was it simply a place of burial, or did it serve a greater, more mystical function? And as we continue to uncover more about this ancient site, we must ask, what might still be hidden beneath the surface of the earth, waiting to reveal its secrets? Perhaps, as with so many ancient mysteries, the answers are there, waiting to be uncovered by those who are willing to listen, to observe, and to question. In the silent, windswept hills of County Donegal, the stones of Críocha continue to stand, guarding their secrets, quietly waiting for us to understand their true meaning. As we stand before Críocha, it's impossible not to feel the weight of its history and the mystery it holds. The tomb, enduring through millennia of wind, rain, and the passage of time, acts as a silent witness to the changing world around it. The landscape, still largely untamed, carries echoes of the past, and the stones of the tomb seem to whisper ancient tales to those who are willing to listen. It's easy to imagine the generations that have passed through this land, leaving their own marks and searching for meaning in the same skies and windswept hills. Perhaps, in some way, the tomb's mystery remains as much a part of the landscape as the land itself. A question without an answer, one that binds the past with the present. While modern technology and scientific advancements have illuminated much about the Neolithic world, Críocha stands as a reminder that some truths are elusive and may forever remain just beyond our grasp. There are many aspects of the tomb, its design, its construction, its purpose, that continue to challenge our understanding of the ancient peoples who once inhabited this land. But perhaps the true significance of Críocha lies not in answering those questions, but in the very act of contemplating them. For in pondering the mysteries of the past, we come to recognize the timeless nature of human curiosity and the enduring quest for meaning, a journey that transcends both time and place. In this way, Críocha remains a living mystery, one that invites us to reflect on our own relationship with the world around us and the legacies we leave behind. As we shift our focus to the rugged hills of Sardinia, Italy, the ancient and mysterious site of Nuraghe Su Nuraxi looms before us. This enigmatic stone structure, nestled in the heart of the island, stands as a powerful testament to a civilization that left behind little more than these imposing ruins. The site is both a marvel and a riddle, a place where history and mystery intertwine, offering glimpses into the distant past, yet holding back many of its deepest secrets. It is a reminder that even in an age where we have decoded much about the ancient world, there are still places and stories that refuse to be easily understood. The Nuraghe Su Nuraxi is one of the largest and most well-known examples of the Nuraghe structures that dot the Sardinian landscape. These megalithic stone towers, unique to the island, have puzzled archaeologists and historians for centuries. Built between the 16th and 13th centuries BC, the complex at Su Nuraxi is not just a single tower, but a sophisticated fortress-like complex consisting of a central tower, a series of surrounding smaller towers, and a network of passageways. At the heart of it all stands the imposing main structure, a massive circular tower that rises from the earth like an ancient sentinel watching over the land. The surrounding walls are thick and formidable, built with large stones that fit together with such precision that they have withstood millennia of natural wear and tear. What is particularly striking about Su Nuraxi is not just its size, but the level of engineering involved in its construction. The towers are made of large basalt stones, each carefully cut and placed without the use of mortar. The skill involved in creating these massive, perfectly interlocking stones suggests a high level of craftsmanship, yet there is little evidence of advanced tools or technology to explain how such structures were built. How did these ancient builders, people whose tools and knowledge seem so rudimentary by today's standards, create such enduring monuments with such precision? Did they possess some unknown method, now lost to history, or were they using techniques that modern engineers still cannot replicate? The design of the complex is also significant. The central tower is the largest and most impressive, but it is surrounded by a series of smaller structures that form a semicircular pattern, and at the heart of the complex is a well or cistern. Some scholars suggest that this layout may have had a strategic or religious significance, possibly related to water or the sun's position during certain times of the year. The towers themselves are thought to have served both defensive and residential purposes, providing shelter for the people who lived there and defending them against outside threats. Yet, while these explanations seem plausible, they do not fully answer the question of why such complex structures were needed in the first place. What makes Su Nuraxi particularly fascinating is that it is part of a much larger network of nuraghe, an estimated 7,000 nuraghe towers scattered throughout Sardinia. The sheer number of these structures suggests that the people who built them, the Nuraghic civilization, had a highly organized society with advanced engineering knowledge. Yet, despite the presence of these impressive structures, little is known about the civilization that created them. The Nuraghic people left behind no written records, and most of what we know about them is based on the ruins they left behind. Their language, customs, and even their very identity remain shrouded in mystery. Did they have connections to other ancient civilizations, or were they isolated on the island of Sardinia? Was the Nuraghic society a peaceful one, or did these towering structures represent fortresses built in response to constant warfare and conflict? Adding to the mystery of Su Nuraxi is the way it seems to interact with its natural surroundings. Positioned on a hilltop with sweeping views of the surrounding countryside, the site appears to have been carefully chosen for both its strategic and symbolic importance. The layout of the complex may also suggest some form of astronomical alignment. Some researchers have speculated that the arrangement of the towers could have had cosmological significance, perhaps relating to the solstices or the lunar cycle. Could the builders of Su Nuraxi have possessed advanced knowledge of the heavens, using their stone structures to track celestial events, mark the passage of time, or connect with forces beyond the earthly realm? Another intriguing aspect of Su Nuraxi is the cistern at the center of the complex. This well-like structure is believed to have been used for collecting water, but its positioning and the care taken in its construction suggest that it may have had ritual or symbolic importance as well. Water in ancient cultures was often considered a sacred element, associated with life, fertility, and purification. Could the cistern have been part of a larger religious or spiritual practice, perhaps used in ceremonies that connected the people of Su Nuraxi to the divine or the forces of nature? Despite decades of archaeological investigation, Su Nuraxi continues to hold secrets that remain beyond our grasp. Many of the artifacts found at the site are fragmentary, and no complete burial or significant inscriptions have been uncovered. This lack of written records adds to the enigma of the site and the civilization that built it. What happened to the Nuraghic people? Why did their civilization decline, leaving behind only these stone towers and the ghostly remnants of their once thriving society? There are also some who speculate that the Nuraghic civilization may have been part of a larger network of cultures, one that reached beyond the shores of Sardinia. Evidence of trade and contact with other Mediterranean civilizations, such as the Phoenicians or Egyptians, has been found on the island. Some researchers have even suggested that the builders of Su Nuraxi could have had access to lost knowledge, perhaps passed down through secret channels or obtained through contact with other advanced civilizations. Was the Nuraghic society truly isolated, or was it part of a much wider, interconnected world, one that we have yet to fully understand? Despite the unanswered questions, one thing is certain. The Nuraghe Su Nuraxi continues to stand as a monument to human ingenuity, mystery, and resilience. It is a place where the past refuses to fade into obscurity, where each stone seems to whisper the stories of those who built it and the secrets they took with them to the grave. As we continue to investigate this ancient site, we are reminded of the limits of our knowledge and the vastness of human history that remains unexplored. What secrets still lie buried beneath the earth at Su Nuraxi? Could the answers to the questions surrounding its construction, its purpose, and the civilization that created it be waiting to be uncovered? Or will the stones of Su Nuraxi continue to hold their secrets, standing silently against the passage of time, guarding the mysteries of a long-lost civilization? As we stand before the towering stones of Su Nuraxi, one cannot help but be drawn into the contemplation of the mysteries that continue to surround this ancient site. The silence of the landscape, broken only by the rustling of the Sardinian wind, seems to echo with the voices of those who once lived here. Voices that speak to us from a time long past, yet whose stories remain tantalizingly out of reach. The massive stones, weathered by centuries of exposure to the elements, still seem to hum with an energy, as though they are waiting for the right moment to reveal their hidden truths. The presence of this monumental site serves as a poignant reminder that even in our age of advanced technology, there are still places where the past holds tight to its secrets, forcing us to reconsider what we truly know about the ancient world. While scholars continue to debate the precise function of Su Nuraxi, the very existence of such a complex site points to a people with a profound understanding of the world around them. Their ability to construct these massive structures with incredible precision, without the use of mortar or advanced tools, suggests a depth of knowledge and craftsmanship that is hard to comprehend. The fact that this knowledge has been lost to time only deepens the mystery. Could the builders of Su Nuraxi have been using techniques or knowledge that have been long forgotten? Or were they tapping into something deeper, an understanding of the natural world and the cosmos that transcended their immediate needs? The unanswered questions surrounding Su Nuraxi offer a glimpse into a forgotten chapter of human history, one that continues to puzzle and fascinate those who venture into the hills of Sardinia in search of answers.